Well, hi there and welcome along to Racing Post HQ for a special edition of What's the Word? It's our Cheltenham preview edition. Got a super panel as well joining me here this evening, so looking forward to that. And a reminder as well, of course, we're going to be giving away lots and lots of free bets over the course of the evening. So let's introduce my panel. Starting first, we've got Paul Keeley, betting editor of the Racing Post. How are you, Paul? You well?
Yeah, good, thanks. Yeah, looking forward to it. It should be a good night. I've got lots of bets for you, hopefully.
Hopefully lots of winners. Patrick, you're going to give us the rundown on Team Closutton as well?
Everything I can anyway, so looking forward to hopefully tipping a few of our own to win.
Good stuff. Well, hopefully there's plenty of those. Nicola McGeady, of course, from our sponsors, Ladbrokes. How are you, Nicola? Are you well?
Good. I just can't wait for Cheltenham to happen now. We've been talking about it for so long. I just want that Tuesday to happen now already.
Good stuff. We also, of course, have our Irish editor, Richie Forrestal. He made it here he got out, this is how big a deal it is. He got from West Cork up to here as well. So that's always a big deal. We know how important this week is for you, Richie. How are you keeping you well?
Good. Thanks for having me on, Tom.
Delighted to be here. And of course, Mr. Cheltenham as well, Gavin Lynch, who of course has been filling us in with lots of tips and the run up here at the Racing Post as well over the last couple of weeks. Gav, you must be excited, are you?
Yeah, just a week to go, Tom, so can't wait.
Good stuff. Right, well, we're going to start on Tuesday and talk about some of our Cheltenham rituals. So, Paul, you're obviously working for the weekend. How's your Tuesday?
Well, I don't know yet, because this will be the first year in my life that I'm actually doing the all 4 days at Cheltenham. So I haven't been on a Tuesday for ages and ages, and I'll be there first thing in the morning. I think we will be doing a podcast at around about 10:30, 11 o'clock, so I'll be looking forward to that. And then it's just getting on the course. Good
stuff. Patrick, a slightly different day for you compared to sort of the rest of the panel. A busy day, so it starts early enough.
Yeah, we go over Sunday night after racing on Nice, and then Monday we just kind of settle in. We'll ride out the horses, make sure they're settled in, more importantly. And Tuesday we're up, we ride out back to the house where I stay. Everyone else has a fry. I have a bit of water maybe because the weights in Cheltenham are a bit lighter than they are at home. And then we stay very close so we can walk to the track. And you're just counting down the minutes until it finally kicks off.
Yeah, absolutely. Nicola, you must be busy. I mean, you've all sorts organised for the week, do you?
Yeah, I mean, it's just full on with interviews, social media activity, and, it usually starts off with a 7 a.m. call to the trading floor, then keep hounding them every hour to see what the latest, where the money's going, and, reporting that throughout the day. So it's so busy, yeah.
Any interest in social media things in the pipeline?
We have a few, yeah. The Horse's Mouth is going to be a show myself, Chris Kamara are going to present. It's going to be every evening from Monday to Thursday at 7 o'clock on the Ladbrokes Facebook page. Lots of celebrity special guests, kind of previewing and reviewing the action, and some fun as well.
Good stuff. Some stunts in there as well, I'm sure. But
we won't say anything.
Richie, what about you? Are you over there for the 4 days? It's busy for you, surely?
Yeah, over there for the week. It's always been the most hectic week of the year. Last year was a change. It was my first year there in my current position, and previously as a correspondent with a daily, it would be wall-to-wall work. And it was nice to be able to go over there last year on Racing Post Arkle Day as it happened and not be flat out. I was busy for the rest of the week, but we took 1 day off. So that was a nice experience. First time in my life I think I'd been at the festival not working on 1 day, so that was enjoyable. So
nice, very nice. Gavin, what about you? I mean, your year basically builds up around these 4 days.
Yeah, myself and a few pals every year we go away somewhere to watch Cheltenham usually. This year it's Galway for 3 days and then Cheltenham Friday and Twickenham Saturday. So.
Tough week.
Yeah.
Tough week. You got some envious glances from the rest of the panel there, Gav. Right, let's start with the racing then. Nicola, we'll start with you. The Supreme Novices Hurdle. Run us through the prices.
Yeah, okay. This is going to be probably the biggest liability of the week's Get a Bird, because we kind of unveil the offer of double your winnings if you have the winner in the Supreme. So obviously, naturally, everybody kind of we were knocked over with bets on Get a Bird. It's now 5-4 right now. And as I said, biggest liability of the week. Second favourite is Kalashnikov at 9-2, and then it's 10-1 bar. So I think, that's the one we dread the most.
Yeah, well, Patrick, a few people better qualified to talk about Get a Bird than you. How has he been, and how excited are you about his chance in this race?
Very. I got to ride him the last day in Punchdown, which was a great thrill. And he obviously was very impressive, even before you factor in that he carried me around. He jumped brilliant. He was a lot more professional his second day than he was his first day. The first day was quite high. He was jumping like a pointer. What struck me the second day was how quick and sharp he was, long or short. And, that's kind of what said to us he's able to jump at 2 mile pace. So he's unbeaten Barra's first point when he went the wrong side of a bale, which can happen in point of points.
So it's stuff that happens in point of points is not really.
But I think also the fact the ground might be slightly softer than normal is probably a bonus for him, and he ticks all the boxes. So very excited to see how he gets on.
And will Sharjah run as well? Will you have any other runners in the race?
Yeah, I'd say Sharjah most likely will turn up here. He's the opposite. I think he wants better ground. Do you know, the day he won with me, was going to win with me.
I do want to say, but
yeah. So today he was running very well with me in Leopardstown. The ground was quite dry. Leopardstown dries out a lot, and at Christmas it was quite dry. And they went a real strong gallop that day, and he jumped brilliantly all the way until the last, where he came to grief. Whereas the last day in February, the ground was a lot softer, and he didn't run to his best, obviously. So I think he's a horse that's probably seen at his best with a strong gallop on good ground. So he might get one of those in Cheltenham, but looks like he mightn't get the real good ground.
And who do you think is the biggest danger to Getterbird?
It's a funny looking Supreme this year. It doesn't look to have huge strength and depth. Obviously, saying that right now, it might be different in 6 months' time. You might say that it does, but Kalashnikov is obviously the one. Now, he beat Blue Rouge, getting £5. I would hope Getterbird could do the same. Yeah. And he obviously won on very, very soft ground. And I know they said the soft ground found him out in the Hallwart, but he'll have to. It's going to be a big difference running in the Supreme, I think, than the handicap hurdle in Newbury.
Paul, Getterbird's going to be the first leg of that ACCA that everyone's going to do on day one. Can you see it letting punches in? Did you have something else you put up against it?
It's a difficult one. He was obviously really, really impressive at Punchestown. My problem is I've never really liked Mengli Khan, who was second, and he was given £6. He was a bit of a nutcase when he was with Hugo Palmer. I think he finished last more times than he won. And, I'm just not 100% I trust that piece of form. Don't get me wrong, Getterbird looked really, really good. The other thing people have been talking about, obviously, is whether Getterbird can go left-handed, because that point was on a left-handed track when he ran out. Now, obviously, that's the first run of his life. He could be just down to total inexperience, and he was very fresh first time over hurdles.
No bales and Cheltenham meters.
No, exactly. No,
it's John Ace like there.
I didn't stop Mengli Khan running at Leopardstown, so it can happen. I mean, he's probably got the best form. Is he a 5-4 shot? Not with me. No, I think he'd be bigger than that on the day. Obviously, there are bookmakers with a lot of liabilities on the horse, but I just think that they will stand him. And to be honest, I don't really see what is that wrong with Kalashnikov. Now, obviously, the trainer says he wants good ground, but he obviously handles soft ground very well.
I mean, the way he won last week.
But that race, that was a 24-runner handicap. The richest handicap run in Britain. He won it by 4.5 lengths. There was about 10 horses within 2 lengths of each other going to the second last, and they finished well and truly strung out. So, although he needed riding along from a fair way out, he just found loads, and you can't kick him out of the frame for me.
And he'd be your selection against the favourite, or is
he'd be my selection? Well,
bigger price?
It's funny. I had maximum bet my first anti-post preview in the weekend, and it was trained by Willie Mullins, owned by Rich Ritchie, and wasn't Getterbird, unfortunately. It's Sharjah. If the ground is decent, I still think he's got a very big run in him, because that run at Leopardstown looked really good. He actually encountered a bit of trouble, and he just kept coming back on the bridle. And to me, that's the mark of a good horse. And if the ground isn't that bad, now we had Kim Bailey on his blog this morning was saying that he had Simon Clace over for dinner last night, and he said that the ground is taking that snow really, really well, and he still expects it to be good to soft on day one and good by the end of the meeting.
Oh, okay, so it shouldn't be too bad. Richie, Irish banker to start off, pretty traditional at this stage, but can you see past Getterbird?
I can, yeah. Well, trying to find an alternative is the hard part. I'd be willing to take him on, though. He's only run
the price,
and he's only run twice over hurdles. I think he's got a lot to prove. There's obviously a little bit of a question mark about the left-handed thing. You just wonder about it. We don't know, but I mean, you have to go back to 2007 to find the last horse to win a Supreme with just 2 runs over hurdles, and I think it was actually Ebzane. That'd be right, Patrick, in 2007.
Just the 2, yeah.
Yeah, everything else, like the last 6 winners have run at least 4 times over hurdles. It's such a helter-skelter race. You need a bit of experience, so I'd be looking to take him on. I'm going to be a pain in Patrick's ear all night, I think, because I think Next Destination should be running in this. I think he's got a huge engine. He's coming in under the radar. I don't know what they're going to run him in. I must say I wouldn't like to see him running the Albert Bartlett, because I think it's a bit of a graveyard for a good horse. Obviously, if he goes up against Sam Crow in the Ballymore, that's going to be tough. Having said that, I wouldn't put it past them beating him, but I think if Gettysburg is vulnerable, I think next destination at 14s is huge if they were to run a minute, especially if it were to be on the slow side, which it might be.
Patrick, feel free to respond.
He's still in the race, so it's not impossible. Yeah, it's not impossible.
But Gavin, would you be with Gettysburg? Are you already on Gettysburg?
I'm on it, but I'd go again on the day. I think he'll be a lot bigger than 5-4. He's already, I think, nearly 2-1 in the exchanges. So on the first day at Cheltenham, the bookmakers always go good price the first couple of races. So if he's 2-1, 9-4, 5-2, I think I'd back him. Because he's a bumper horse, people perceive that he's slow. He won his maiden hurdle over 2.5. He did win one bumper at Fairyhouse in 3:48, which was 5 seconds quicker than the Royal Bond that day. So he definitely has gears. That was good to heel in that day. I'd be interested to see what the big chat, obviously, the last week or two has been is he going to jump to his right? If Patrick wouldn't mind, is it okay to ask you, what do you think?
The day in Punchdown, he jumped straight anyway.
Yeah.
So it's been pure chance that he's ran in Punchdown twice. He's never ran left-handed for us, but he's only had 4 runs, so it's been by chance rather than design.
Yeah, fair
I
enough.
think that in the top 6 in the betting, Paloma Blue, Sharjah, Megley Khan, they want decent ground. Kalashnikov and Somerville Boy, form will tell you they want soft ground. So ground's a big factor, but I'd be with Gettysburg. I think that Somerville Boy might be the best each way at 10-1.
Good stuff. Well, on to one of the races of the festival today, and cracking betting heat as well, although it has changed slightly without So Royal. The Racing Post article. Paul, I'll just give you a moment to reflect on your So Royal pain. Or maybe start with Patrick and Footpad. How is he?
He's fantastic. He's in great form. We didn't miss a day over with the snow. We got the horse out every day. The only thing that went wrong was that a pipe burst in his barn, but things could be worse than that. I think this is our nap at the festival. I love how he jumps. As someone said to me, you're not even nervous watching him.
Yeah.
Long or short, he just seems to meet it spot on. I think he was just below top class as a champion hurdler. I think the way he jumps over fences makes him top class as a chaser. To me, Petit-Bourgeois didn't jump well enough in Leopardstown to say he's going to be an Arkle horse. The worry is obviously St. Calvados. But I just think our horse has the form in the book, and I'd be disappointed if he gets beaten.
Paul, so I mentioned So Royal there. I know you're on the biggest prices. What about this race now?
Yeah, back to the big prices. I thought he was the one that might be able to pick up the pieces because I think they're going to go very hard. I don't think Ruby will be silly enough to take him on this time. I guarantee you that Petit-Bourgeois will not be behind Footpad jumping the second fence. And I'm pretty sure St. Calvados will probably be in front of the pair of them. They are going to go hard. You cannot knock Footpad on anything he's done over fences. He's jumped beautifully. And he's looked really good, and he looks like he's got more gears than he looked like he had over hurdles. Just worries me that when the ground was decent in the 2 runs he had at the festival, he just lacked the 2 mile pace for me. Whether he does now or not, I don't know. But I just think he'll have more of a race. His jumping will be put under more pressure here. It doesn't look like he's going to have any problem with it, but I think Petit-Bourgeois will be a better horse than he was at Leopardstown. It was obviously only his second start over fences. He got worked up in the paddock beforehand, not unusual, so he could easily get worked up again at Cheltenham. But after the first 3 fences, he jumped fine. He obviously did reach for a couple early on, but I think he'll go out in front, and I think he might be hard to pass.
Do you think it's between those 2?
Unless it's really, really soft ground. I think St. Calvados has the action of a horse that really, really wants soft ground. I know the trainer says it's not a worry, but you find any trainer with a horse with a chance at Cheltenham, and they tell you that good ground is not a worry.
But it's such a cracking race. Was it, Nicola? Just remind us of the prices there.
Yeah, well, it was quite interesting. During the week, kind of alarm bells kind of were set off because Footpad started to really drift out, went from even money out to nearly 15-8 at one point. But I think that was, and then the others started to come in, especially Petit-Bourgeois, St. Calvin and Brain Power all shortened up. But then obviously everyone came out and said, from the yard that nothing is wrong, nothing has changed with Footpad, and I think it's obviously people were just looking at the ground conditions, and that was the reason for the gamble elsewhere. But very much Footpad will be the one everybody's probably with. I like St. Calvados. I think he's been very impressive all year. Will have a great chance at 100-30.
Gavin, your thoughts on this? Are you with Footpad? I think you're on Footpad early tours, are you?
Yeah, that's a while ago. I definitely be against Brain Power. All his 5 jump wins have been to the right. He's had 2 very poor runs at Cheltenham. Can't have him. Can't have St. Calvados unless it's very soft, which they're saying now that it probably won't be. So same as what Paul was saying, I think Footpad will be held up. I don't think he'll make the run, and he was held up behind an Avenue done via Christmas, so there's no problem there. I'd worry about Petit-Bourgeois early on. His first 2 jumps at Leopardstown were, I don't know how he stood up, so St. Calvados is a brilliant jumper. Petit-Bourgeois has only had the 2 runs over fences, so it's going to be helter-skelter. The first 3 furlongs will probably be the 3 quickest furlongs of the week, I'd say. I'd be with Footpad. He's 3 from 3. The price differential is not big enough anymore. 2 weeks ago, Petit-Bourgeois was 4 to 1, now he's 2 to 1. Whereas Footpad has actually gone out in the betting, so I'll be with Footpad.
Do you think Footpad's the kind of horse that could, again, be one of those sort of footfall drivers? He get another bigger price again on the morning?
I think he's going to be 6 or 7 to 4, yeah. And it'll be obviously an advantage, nothing against the other jockeys, but it's always an advantage to have Ruby Walsh.
Yeah, no harm in that. Richie, your thoughts on the Racing Post article?
Yeah, same. Look, I mean, if you're getting 6 or 7 to 4 about Footpad on the morning of the race, it'd hold tough. It looked like a cracking race with Soar Island there. I thought it was a 3-horse race. He's a really progressive animal, so it was disappointing to see him come out today. I have to say, I thought Petit-Bourgeois' run at Leopardstown was outstanding for a horse that hadn't run since the autumn. He was on Footpad's tail the whole way, and he was still there from the back of the last home. I thought it was a really, really good run. Having said that, I think they were kind of slightly disappointed that they couldn't turn him over, but again, as Gavin said, he was 4 to 1 a couple of weeks ago. That was a good price. He's into 2 to 1 now. Footpad is hard to oppose. I can't remember the last time I saw a hurdler improve so much for going chasing. He travels, he jumps, he's versatile. You know, they can do what they want with him in terms of tactics. Hard to see beyond him. If it wasn't for the drift in recent days, you know, you would not be talking about him getting beat.
Patrick, is it his jumping? Is it actually his jumping that makes him such a better chaser than a herder? He's getting pretty much a length.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, and you see that on horses that jump quicker, say 2.5 mile hurdlers, if they jump like he does over fence, they can come back to 2 miles. I mean, when you jump that well, you can come back in trip, even though you mightn't be, you know, as a champion hurdler, he wasn't quick enough for 2 miles.
Yeah.
But the way he jumps over fences, as you say, the ground he's making, that makes him quick enough to be a 2 mile chaser.
And you genuinely think he's the best chance you have this week?
For me, he's my nap.
Good stuff. Well, there you go. Let's move on to the Unibet Champion Hurdle, and obviously one of the highlights of the week. Patrick, again, it's going to come to you because obviously Beauverdare is a very warm order favourite here, but so much is going to be spoken and written about Faugheen, the build up to this. You've got Yorkhill as well, who 60-40 he runs in this. So how are things at the moment? If all goes to plan for the next 8 days, who lines up in here for you?
All is good. I mean, Faugheen has been fine at home all season, and that's why we're scratching our heads so much. We don't know why he's been so below par on the track. I mean, his first run back, the Morgiana, looked like the Faugheen of old. So we know the ability's not there. He hasn't got old since November. You know, people are saying he's 10 now. He is 10, but like Hurricane Fly was well able to beat good horses when he was 10 and 11.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, we can't find anything obvious. We've changed a few little things at home, a little like Nicholas Canyon last year, and we're hoping that might just spark him up a bit. We're hoping just going back to Cheltenham might spark him up a bit. So he's in great form. Yorkhill schooled very well over hurdles the other day on the Curragh. So, you know, we have the option of the Champion Hurdle and the Ryanair. You know, he's won twice over 2.5 at the festival, but both times he's turned in pulling a roller. You know, he's...
If you had the choice, which would you run him, in the Rhino or the Champion Hurdle?
Oh.
If it was up to you.
Here, do a quick scan on the panel. Which would you run? Yorkhill, Ryanair or Champion Hurdle?
The Champion Hurdle.
Richie?
Ryanair.
Ryanair.
I'd ask Willie.
And Paul?
On his 2 runs this year, it doesn't really matter, does it? No.
Patrick, back to the argument.
So look, we know, so Yorkhill, again, the ability's there, and the 2 runs have just not worked out for whatever reason. But David Casey just thinks in the last 2 weeks he's in better form than he's been all through the season. Obviously, then we have Wicklow Brave is there. I think he'd have a great each way chance. Again, the better the ground, the better his chance. The softer ground, probably the less of his chance. And Mellon, I think a 10 to 1 is a great bet because we put the hood on the last day and it backfired. He just never travelled, never went a yard. You know, so we'll probably take the hood off, and he's the horse who has the potential to improve. You know, improve past the likes of probably Wicklow Brave and, you know, Faugheen and Yorkhill are in and out of form. Whereas Mellon at 10 to 1 could be a great each way bet.
From a betting perspective, Paul, I mean, Beauverdare here is long as well looking to back up in a champion hurdle. Is there any opposing him or is there an each way bet against him?
Well, opposing him, when it comes to short prices, I always want to oppose everything, and I routinely do, even if it's only small bets. The only reason I can see Beauverdare getting beaten is if he's forgotten how to race. Because obviously he ran in 2 Grade 1s at the start of the season. They were just very weak Grade 1s, and then he ran in a Mickey race at Sandown that really shouldn't be in the calendar. 16 to 1 on. I'd love to have seen him go over to the Irish Champion Hurdle, but obviously Cheltenham, be all and end all. That's what he did, but he actually had to get shaken up to beat John Constable, and it's almost because he'd forgotten what to do. And obviously these competitors are going to be a lot more difficult for him to beat than those. He did win a very good champion hurdle, as it seemed last year. That there's some top class chasers come out of it, so he's obviously the one to beat. But I've backed Wicklow Brave with and without the favourite each way. He's last year he was a massive price, and he missed the break at the start, and he cantered through the race, and he was going as well as anything. 2 out. He actually traded 3 to 1 in running, I think. It's if he behaves himself. He obviously came out afterwards and won a Punchestown. Are you riding him, Patrick?
I would love to ride him. yeah, I don't know yet, but I would love to ride him.
Because he got a blinder from Patrick at Punchestown when I backed him there. And he's just a very talented horse. Got to remember, he's a Group 1 winner on the flat. He actually ran better in the Melbourne Cup this year than he had last year. And, I think he's got as much talent as most of the others in there outside of Beauverdare at this stage of their careers, because obviously I don't think is as good as he was.
Yeah, fair enough. Nicola, is there any sort of each way liabilities here against, obviously, Beauverdare?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as everyone said, it's very hard to oppose Beauverdare. He's been unbeaten for so long. He's 4 to 9, but that price is too skinny for most punters. So, and I think behind Beauverdare, the race looks a bit thin. So, Wicklow Brave has been the each way gamble in this race. He has a good Cheltenham profile and travels really well. So, Wicklow Brave's in there at 14 to 1. So, it looks like a very nice each way bet, I think.
Good stuff.
I'll get 20 to 1 if I'm on him as well. So I'd wait.
Richie, is there any there's no opposing Beauverdare here, is there?
No, but what I would say about York Hill is I think he'll surprise people. I don't think he'll run nearly as bad as he has done the first 2 times this season. I think the 3 miler at Christmas was a big ask for a horse with his temperament first time out. I thought he was always going to be free, and he was. And 2 miles the last, it just clearly didn't suit him. So I would expect he'll come in a little bit under the radar wherever he goes, and they'll bury him in, they'll settle him, and he'll pick up the pieces whichever race he runs in, I think. Beauverdare, I'd be a massive fan of him. I think he's a little bit underestimated. Maybe mad saying that about a 4 to 9 shot, but I don't think he's got the credit he deserves. I think he won. He beat a proper yardstick in my 10 to yours last year, and I wouldn't be worried about him maybe being shaken up the last day. I think he's a proper horse. The thing I'd say about Faheen, Patrick mentioned how Hurricane Fly kept doing it at 10. He did, but at that point he hadn't had 2 years off, which this fella had up to November. They got him up to a certain level for November, and I think it's taken a little bit of a toll on him since. I can't see him winning a champion hurdle at this stage.
Yeah, fair. Gavin, can you see Faheen doing it, or can you see Beauverdare being beaten?
Not really. There's only 3 horses that have the ability to win this race. Is York Hill, Faheen and Beauverdare, and 2 of them you can't have really. Faheen possibly will be second because great run in the Morgiana, then he fell apart at Christmas. The last day was halfway back to what he was, so if he improves again, he may be second. As Paul says, Beauverdare may have forgotten how to race. He's been 1 to 6, 2 to 11 and 1 to 16, so he's had nothing to do this year. It was interesting, this time last year, Nicky was worried would the ground be soft enough for Beauverdare. He was really worried at the time, so he should have no worries this year. So he may be 4 to 6, 4 to 7 on the day again. They might drift on the morning of the race, but it's impossible to look past him.
Would you give my 10 to yours a place squeak for this?
Well, you can't say no, can you? I mean, second.
You surely get
meeting 4
big enough on
times,
the
isn't
day,
it?
wouldn't
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, you will do. Although he might be, each way punters who've been there year in year out and keep seeing him. He might be in the forecast, etc. Like he's a very talented horse. He's a
fantastic horse.
He actually won. He actually won for the first time since he won a jumpers bumper in about 2014, I think it was. Yeah. When he won the international. Yeah, he's going to be thereabouts at the last. Definitely.
He's always ridden to place ultimately as well, isn't he? I mean, they drop him in.
Drop him in.
He doesn't get the credit he deserves, does he? Is he second in 3 champion hurdles?
Yeah, the modern day theatre world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, it's such a good race. So if that's a third leg, of our fourfold. Are we reckon we're going to still be all on board then by the time we're looking up to the Mares Hurdle. Yeah.
Getterbird will be beat as long as they run next destination.
It's a bit of an ask. We do have comments as well to come in, so make sure if you have some questions for the panel, just make sure you use RP Cheltenham Preview, and we'll get a few of those comments to the guests as well. Anyway, leg 4 of the ACA will be Apples Jade. Real sort of quick on this. Can she be beaten in that Mares Hurdle? Should she be running in this?
Well, I mean, you know, if you're going to create a Grade 1 championship race for mares, then you can't blame Connections for running in it, can you? It's as simple as that. Like, you know, I'd rather the race didn't exist and she ran in the Stayers Hurdle, and you know, we saw her.
Wasn't last year's race a fantastic race to watch?
It was. Oh God, yeah. I'm not saying it wasn't a great race.
Proper oaks. It was jumping oaks.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. I think she's probably got an easier task this day because Vroom Vroom Mag's obviously had her troubles. Which he says he won't run all 3. He says that Let's Dance is most likely to go for the Stayers. I don't know whether that will happen or not. I backed La Bago Ra for the Stayers and this race because I just think she's improved out of all recognition this season, and I think she'll be in the frame if she handles Cheltenham. She wasn't brilliant in the Troll House last year, but that was 2 miles and she wants a trip.
She does appear to have improved over the course of the season.
She does, yeah, and I think the way this race is looking up, she'll probably end up here now because the Stayers is looking a really, really tough race, and whether she probably has 1 horse to beat in this one.
Patrick, who are you going to oppose Apples Jade with?
Well, I think Benny Dezu will probably go here. You know, she's hugely exciting. Now, she, a bit like we were saying before, she's so good over fences. You're wondering, is she going to be as good back over hurdles? But she schools very well at home, and she's jumped plenty of hurdles in France. You know, she's unbeaten for us. The last day, she ran very keen, and I think David rode her, and David's a very sympathetic rider. He's always, you know, he just does enough with his horses. So I think she did very well to beat a story, giving the way the race panned out. So she's probably the one that has the best chance of beating Apples Jade. Bloody Apples Jade. Yeah.
Is that from like a retention point of view that she can do?
Put it out there. But I mean, Apples Jade she's a fantastic mare. She's as good as mares we've seen in a long, long time. Vroom Vroom is in great form at home. Again, she's going to go there like Kivega without a prep run, which for Kivega was fine. Kivega didn't have to take on Apples Jade, so you know, that is a question mark. But we are very happy with her, and I do think last year we probably gave Apples Jade too much rope mid-race. I think Brian Cooper made a race-winning move turning down the back. He just stole a few lengths. I don't think we'll give her as much rope this time, and I'm hoping that maybe that can turn things around.
Do you think she's improved since then, though?
Apples Jade?
Apples Jade, like.
No, I think she's top class. I think she's still top class. Yeah. So.
It was one of the races of the day, actually, race of the festival, wasn't it? That just the finish, the 3 coming over.
I didn't appreciate it.
Obviously not at the time, but maybe with time you can appreciate this good race.
But I was down at the last, and I mean, it was great to see, you know, the hour 2 coming in like a pincer movement around her, and it looked like we had her, and she picked up and went away to her, and fair play to her, you know, fair play to her. But it was a great race last year, and to me that was the year the Mares Hurdle came of age.
Yeah, well, you'd owned it until then, but so the year you lose it, it came of age. That's pretty unfortunate for you. Nicola, this will be the one that probably bookmakers are dreading. You'd be hoping for it.
One of many, but I mean, obviously, if Apples Jade was beaten, it would be an amazing result for us. So anything but is what we're after. 4-6. Elliot said it's his best, you know, chance of the entire week. We have shortened up Benny Dezu into 6 from 10-1. Paul Labago is 10-1 there as well. So, but again, anything but Apples Jade is all we're saying.
Yeah, that's going to be the call from the bookies. Yeah. She's a top quality mare, Richie. She wins this, does she?
Yeah, it's
anything to finish second.
It's a non-event. With her at 4-6, I mean, you'd be taking that all day long. She beat Super Sunday at Leopardstown. Super Sunday is favourite for the Stayers. That's where she should be. You know, I mean, I take Patrick's point. Last year's race was a fantastic spectacle, but you want to see these mares in the championship races. They'd add so much. Annie Power, when she ran in the Stayers, behind more of that. Great spectacle. My Sylvia years ago, and obviously going back to Dawn running the champion hurdle. They'll never run in those races, no, very rarely. 4-6 is almost value about this mare. She's far better than all the rest of them. There was one further down that I thought if it runs in, it might run well. Verdana Blue, Nicky Henderson's horse. She travelled really well at Newbury in the old Torque Gold Trophy the last day, and she got tired in the ground. She's about 20-1. She could sneak a place possibly.
I think all the talk was that she's going to end up going for the champion hurdle.
Is she? Yeah. I mean, so that's a bit mad too. Like, you know, this is the race for her, isn't it?
You would have thought so.
Yeah.
If you're trying to take black type, take the easiest black type, surely. But Gavin, what do you make of this?
I think you can see why they do have mares, hurdles, etc. Like there's a full programme in the flat for mares and fillies against the colts and geldings, so it's probably fair. Apple's Jade, she's a winner of 7 Grade 1, so as Richie said, she's probably valued at 4 to 6. The one that I think might chase her home maybe is Benny Did You that Patrick mentioned. To give Asturi £7 over fences was a very good performance in Nace. If you get 5 to 2, 3 to 1 without, I think that's value.
Okay, we're going to get some quick handicap selections on the Tuesday. If Gavin, I'm sure you consult your notes there. Paul, do you have anything in the handicaps like Tuesday?
Yeah, I managed to jump on Q-Star Civil just as it was crossing the line over a 3-mile chase at Exeter last time. At a decent price. I think he'll go off 5 or 6 to 1 favourite, to be honest. Won really, really easily at Exeter. Only went up £7 for that. I was really surprised that he did. It's only £4 higher than when fourth in the Martin Pipe last year. He's also been third in the Fred Winter, so he's got the festival form that you like. In the Close Brothers, I've always liked Barney Dwan. He got dropped £2 for Musselburgh last time. Couldn't see the handicap was reasoning then. I mean, okay, he wasn't in top form, but it was sticky ground for him. And I think as long as it's not too soft, he's got to go well. And although it's not a handicap, I'm very interested in No Comment for the National Hunt Chase. Now, JP McManus has won the race 6 times. He only had 1 horse entered for it, and that's No Comment. And he's only run once over fences, but he did run in the Grade 1 Scilly Isles at Sandown, and he wasn't far off him until he stumbled at the second last. And he travelled and he jumped pretty well for a first time out over fences down the back straight of Sandown. And he had really decent handicap form in big fields over hurdles, second to Fountains Windfall, and second again at Punchestown afterwards in big fields, and I think he'd go well.
Good. So, Patrick, do you know what you'll be riding in the National Hunt Chase at this stage? Or?
I'm not 100% sure, but I rode Ravind the last day in Leopardstown with a view to maybe riding him because he's the right kind of profile. He has a lot of experience.
Yeah.
He settles very well. He jumps well. I know he fell the last day, but I think that race turned into a bit of a sprint, and I think I like his profile a lot. Yeah. So
he's also jumping experience as well. So second in the Drinmore, isn't he?
In the Drinmore, yeah. And I think in this race, lots of jumping experience is a huge asset. So, he's possibly the one I might be on.
Anything else in the handicaps on
I don't
Tuesday?
think we have anything that'll get into the Close Brothers. So
fair enough. And Nicola, anything else jumping out for you on the Tuesday card?
Yeah, I suppose with the snow and everything, people really get a chance to sit down and study the handicaps with jumps racing off. And Rathvinden's probably one that we have seen quite well backed in recent days. Obviously, he can go any trip, and he was also in the RSA, but I think the 4-miler seems to be the way. So now 10 to 1 from 14 to 1.
Good. So, Richie, did you put your snow days to good use and study all the handicap weights?
I did, yeah, I haven't stopped on, yeah. The 4-miler, I thought Jury Duty probably go close. Obviously, he's near the head of the market, 15 to 2. He was placed behind Presenting Percy last year. Solid, consistent operator who should stay. American, if he runs in the Ultimate, I don't know what they're going to run him in, whether they'll run him at all. They're obviously prepping him for one of the Nationals. I think there's a small possibility he'll run in the Ultimate, 20 to 1. He'll have a big weight, but he should run his race. And the other one at a big price as well, I thought, was Le Rocher of Nick Williams. He won his first few over fences, and he was placed at Exeter last time behind Alison Montderg, and he made a bad mistake, 2 out. I just think he caught my eye at the weights.
Good stuff. Gav? Yeah, I know you've been doing it. Go on.
The Ultima looks too hard. The 4-miler, I like Rathvinden at 10 and 12 to 1 for Patrick. I think it's good each way value. And in the Close Brothers, any second now is 10 to 1. 2 from 4 last year over hurdles. This year, he's yet to win over fences, which doesn't look very good. But when you look what he ran against, he was second to Monolith, second to Invitation Only, second to Footpad. The 3 of them could win
okay.
the 3 Grade 1s, you never know. And the last day was third to Footpad and Petit-Bourgeois. Gets in off, the Irish rating is 145. They've left him on that for the UK rating. It's not really a handicap. At the moment, there's 34 horses between 140 and 145. So the most he'll have to give away is £5.
Who's that? Sorry, just
any second now, trained by Ted Walsh.
Ted Walsh's horse.
I'd say presumably Barry will ride it, maybe Mark Walsh. He's ridden it before, but I think he's doing well to get into a handicap.
Yeah, looks like it. I'm going to have a couple of comments, by the way. Don't forget the hashtag RP Cheltenham preview. So going to start with Gareth Porter. Said, Patrick, is Montalbano likely to go for the Arkle?
Possibly. I think he was originally entered in Navan in the grade 2 Navan chase. I think he's entered in that again, so I'm not sure. But he's on the list anyway, yeah.
Will Min run the champion hurdle? He's surely going to go.
No,
That's Min, by the way, behind Patrick, just if you'd see on the graphic. True, yeah, sorry, a lot of these are for you, Patrick, believe it or not. And Foyne, is he shown more than he did before his last run? So has he progressed from pre-Leopardstown to now?
His work was very good before his last run, and I rode him out the last few days because John Cotty, the rider, was stuck in Wexford within the snow, and I just thought this morning, he was in particularly good form, actually.
Good stuff. Has the weather affected things too adversely, by the way? Someone else asked about this. Andrew Pearce asked about the weather.
I have to say, we've had absolutely Herculean efforts from our staff. We were putting plastic covers down on the gallop after work and then putting them out the next morning, which is not an easy task. And
good for your fitness regime, though.
Very good for the fitness regime, and we weren't cold. But I just thought everyone went above and beyond the call of duty, and we got every horse out every day. But just we're so lucky to have the staff we have.
Yeah, and to be fair, if you follow racing yards on social media, I mean, it puts a lot of the rest of us to shame. To be fair, the amount of they've gone through over the last few mornings in that cold and the weather. Right, let's move on to Wednesday, and we'll start with the second coming, shall we? Sam Crow in the Ballymore Properties Novices Hurdle. Paul, this is proper Irish backer territory here. Look, he's odds on. Is he all things to all men?
Could be, yeah. I mean, and I think he probably is. But as I said before, I don't back favourites. I think the two shortest prospects I've ever had at Cheltenham both lost, and twice bitten. That's enough. But so I will take him on. I mean, the one thing is he was about 5-2 before the Deloitte last time, and I think the race fell apart. He didn't need to be as good as he looked to win it. The race was a lot slower than the 4-year-old race on the card, particularly in the last couple of furlongs. So I've had a little go each way on Black Op. I wouldn't say it was a big bet, but I thought he ran a really nice race on that Trials Day race. Just beaten by Santini. He actually looked like the winner for most of the race. Traded 25-1 on, made a mistake at the last. Might have gone a bit too soon on heavy ground. I think better ground will suit him, and he'll be in the frame.
Yeah.
What do you take out of the time being slower on the day?
It was just the fact that he looked so impressive, but then you find out that the two 4-year-olds ran 2 seconds faster, which is about, let's say it's 8-9 lengths.
Yeah, well,
you know what I mean?
I mean, if you watch that race, I actually ended up making running on that race a real steal because no one wanted to go on in Sam Crow's race.
Right, so do you think you went fast or do you think it went slow?
No, we went slow.
You went slow. Well, I'll tell you what, I don't think they went that fast in the other race either, but from 2 out to the line, both the 4-year-olds were still 6 lengths faster than Sam Crow. You see, that's the point. So Sam Crow's done it really easy, and they're going hell for leather, and I think they're both 2 very good 4-year-olds. But the point is, he didn't need to. What I'm saying is, he didn't need to be as good as he looked to win that race, and he might be a superstar anyway. And I sort of half hope he is. You know what I mean? But he shortened quite dramatically on the back of that.
I'm always a bit sceptical on times. I mean, John Gosling says it only matters when you're in jail, but I would always.
Listen, I'm no expert on times at all. You know what I mean? But I just did find it interesting.
Yeah.
Patrick, you to throw a few darts at Sam Crow. Who do you think you're trying to pose him with?
We will. I questioned, had he lived up to the hype before the last day? And what I saw the last day, I thought was a fantastic performance because that race had such strength and depth. There were so many good horses in it. They can't all have ran kind of below par.
I don't want to throw your words back at you too hard, but you did say Sharjah shouldn't be odds on or odds against on any horse.
Yeah, well, on what he'd shown on at Christmas, I thought Sam Crow shouldn't be odds on to beat him. And he ran below par, but you can't say that every other horse in the race ran below par. Next destination most likely will go here, but look, he's entered everywhere, and maybe Richie will ring Willie and have a word with him.
Doesn't usually work.
Yeah. I find reverse psychology actually the way I get around.
Tell him run him in the Albert Park.
I get around Willie, yeah. To me, next destination's form isn't as good as Sam Crow's form, so we need to step up to what Sam Crow achieved in Leopardstown. However, he looks a much better horse over hurdles. He'll handle Cheltenham. He was 4th in the champion bumper last year, which was a cracking run. And he jumps very well. Like I said, he needs to step up to Sam Crow, but there's nothing to say that he can't.
He's quite impressive at Naas, to be fair, that day. His jumping seemed to be really slick as well.
Yeah, and he actually ran a bit keen that day, which I think Willie said afterwards, that the Supreme was perhaps an option the way he travelled and jumped that way, because usually he's quite a laid-back horse. I thought he was better in Navan, to be honest, than he was in Naas, but Paul just thought he was idling from the back of the last. He has the potential to improve, but Sam Crow's the one we've got to get to.
Yeah, Samcro, no doubt. I mean, this is we're repeating ourselves a little here, but this is real nightmare
everything's
stuff
one
again,
nightmare
isn't it,
after another with us, isn't it? Actually, this is probably the one out of all the bankers we'd want to lay, in the sense every year there's a hype horse, and I just think it's a bit of a high price maybe at 4 to 6. You know, you have all the blind sides in there at 9 to 2 has been pretty flawless, I think, so far as well for Nicky Henderson. But you know, this Samcro is going to be a part of most punters' festival ACCAs, and again will be one we want to get beaten, but at the same time probably one we might take on as well.
Good stuff. Richie, look, the Racing Post, plenty of people at Racing Post, massive fans of Samcro. I think Michael O'Leary famously said to Dave James a few weeks ago, you haven't interviewed the box driver yet, but look, he is undoubtedly the Irish banker, isn't he? And
Is he?
Just,
I
did nothing but
I dispute it. I mean,
Really?
no, he's a fantastic horse, fantastic specimen. But in case you haven't noticed, I'm a bit of a Next Destination fan, and I think no matter what they run him in, I think he's going to take a bit of stopping. I hope they don't run him in the 3-miler, because I think he's a good horse, and I think it's a bit of a graveyard for a good horse. You look at what he beat the last day at Naas in the Grade 1. You know, and coming with Grade 1 form is also a big bonus coming to Cheltenham. He's beat Jets twice, he's thrashed him twice, and Jets just got touched off in the Grade 1 at Leopardstown subsequently. He beat Cracking Smart, who was favoured for the Albert Bartlett before he was pulled out. He beat Duke de Ginevra around a similar distance to Samcro, albeit Samcro did it visually that bit more impressive. And Speakeasy was behind him, blow by blow, came out and won a Grade 3 at Thurles the next time. He travels, he jumps, and I just think he's the best novice hurdler in Willie's yard. And I think if they run him in the Supreme, he'll take a bit of stopping. I think if they run him in this,
we're going to get you a drum and you can keep banging.
As I say, I hope he doesn't end up in the 3-miler. I think he's too good a horse for it.
Yeah,
personally.
You've got to remember that, you know, 4 of the last 7 favourites in this race got beat at 2 to 1 or shorter. Denman got beat in this race. It's always dangerous to assume there's only one very good horse.
Yeah. Samcro is an awesome animal, and he could be the second coming. But if you're looking at the race from a betting perspective, if Next Destination were to run it, I think he'd be the value option.
The value option. Gavin, is someone gonna remove Samcro from your affections?
No, he's booked in for the church in Summerhill every Sunday after Cheltenham. He's doing the loaves and fishes. Hard to see Samcro beat. I'd be mad against on the blind side. 2 runs ago at Cheltenham, he got outpaced coming down the hill. Nicky said afterwards that the hill is a worry for him. Can't have him at all. I think Next Destination's a huge danger. Black Op definitely is an E-Trade chance, but Next Destination and Samcro, I think it's going to be a good battle between the two of them. I wouldn't be against Samcro. He shows a lot of toe. I'd nearly fancy him more for the Supreme, to be honest, nearly like you with Next Destination. But the two of them show a lot of gears, but yeah, I think they'll be first and second.
Patrick, you wouldn't object to that. Would you send Samcro to Supreme, or would that be worse for Getterbird?
We'll take him on somewhere anyway. Yeah. We're trying to beat him everywhere.
Beyond, I mean, are we sort of boiling this down to almost a 2-horse race now? Who feels there's something at a biggish price there that can knock in behind?
Well, Paul said Black.
I look back up. I mean, I think he's got a good each-way chance. He's a strong traveller. He handled the hill no problem, and I totally agree about on the blind side because he didn't handle it at all.
And Scudamore went too soon, didn't he? The last day in Black Op, he took it up.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it just reminded me of a few years ago at Fisher's Cross, just mugged a new one. I think that was 2011, and of course the new one comes out, wins this race. At Fisher's Cross won the Albert Bartlett. I just wonder, he's got a big run in him, this horse.
Yeah.
You know, and I think he'd be happier on decent ground.
And I think that Santini's not bad a horse either. I mean,
you did Nicky Henderson, but the way he talks about him, you know, I mean, he's the second coming at his yard. Like, you know,
and I'm not sure where Duke de Geneve's go. He could probably go on any 3 of the novices, but I think at 14 to 1, he's quite a large price. I think he's improved since the last day. Donald Fennessy, who looks after him and rides him, just said to me the other day, he says this horse is absolutely flying. So you know, when he has form behind the two of them, and I think he's entitled to improve. Like, we had to throw him straight into Grade 1 company.
Yeah, the first run for you was in a Grade 1 at
Yeah,
Naas.
see, he'd won a maiden in France, so it's not your usual way with campaigner horses. But I think at 14 to 1, you know, I think he'd be staying on both times. He's been staying on at the end.
Is he, Patrick, to interrupt you, is he a long-term chasing prospect?
Oh, he'll jump a fence.
Yeah. Would there be any temptation to skip the festival with a horse like that that's beaten a couple of times kind of comprehensively, albeit run well, and there isn't an obvious, you know, he could run in any of the 3 almost, and he's in the handicaps as well. Would you be tempted to swerve it at all
No, I'm not a believer that one race can ruin a horse. People get this thing in their head about Cheltenham and how it can ruin a horse. I think if you have a clever jockey on board, one race will never ruin a horse. So when you have the form, there's only one place to go, and that's Cheltenham. For us, anyhow, yeah.
Good stuff. Well, let's move on to the RSA Chase. And for once, we have a deep betting heat here. Nicholas, I'll start with you, the prices for the RSA.
Yeah, well, I think Presenting Percy is going to be really hard to beat. It's probably one of my bets of the week. 5-2 favourite. His run in the Red Mills Chase behind our Duke was very impressive on heavy ground. And yeah, he's the favourite. Behind that, you've got Monley. Then you've got Black Courtin as well. This will be a real story around Cheltenham, especially, with Bryony Frost. They have a lovely partnership, I think, and I think that will be another popular one in the betting. But I think Presenting Percy will be hard to beat and will be very popular on the day. I'm not sure Black Courtin is up to the task here.
Richie, I'll start with you. Monolly and Presenting Percy, two completely differently campaigned animals, but coming here ahead in the market.
Yeah, look, they're both fantastic animals, and every time Pat Kelly has a winner at Cheltenham, it's great to see small trainer coming up and winning a big race there. I'd be inclined to take him on. I just think every time he steps up to the top level, he falls a little bit short. He was beaten at Punchestown in the Grade 1 hurdle, in the bumper by blow, beaten 12, 13, 14 lengths, something like that. Same in last year when he stepped up behind Cracking Smart, and Monolly finished in front of him that day as well. He ran well the last day. On the other hand, you'd say maybe it wasn't an ideal prep for an RSA getting beaten by our Duke. He had to have a hard enough race that day. I'd be looking to take him on. For a horse to win a Grade 1 after the fall Monolly had previously took some doing. I remember when Cato Star was on the go, there was a stat back then. I haven't had a chance to look it up, but it's very, very rare for a horse to win a Grade 1 after a fall on its previous outing over fences. And he won in real style. He took a horrendous fall on the previous.
Kicking as well.
He got a kicking. It was a horrible fall. And I thought he won well the last day. He'd be the one for me. I hope they don't run him in the JLT. I think this is the race for him. He was just run out of it last year in the 3-miler and the novice hurdle. And Henry de Bromhead's horses generally improve for chasing. 3-1 about him. With Mr. Reliable up on top, Noel Feely as well. I wouldn't be opposing him.
Yeah, Gavin, your thoughts on this?
I think Davy Russell's a better judge than me, and over the course of the last 6 weeks, he picked Presenting Percy ahead of Monolly. It seems like he had the choice, and he went for Presenting Percy.
They do get it wrong.
Yeah, he won the Pertemps last year on goodish ground.
First lieutenant. I didn't want to say.
He's shown that he likes good ground because he won the Pertemps. He won the Portstown over 3-5 in bad ground. The last day, you're probably a little bit disappointed that he didn't beat our Duke getting £7, but at the same time, our Duke was probably a big contender for the Gold Cup. So maybe Presenting Percy. I'm just surprised with the gap in price between Alboom Photo, Dunacost and Monolly. Fair enough, Monolly probably didn't have a great preparation and he could improve a lot, but 3-1, 8-1 and 12-1 seems a little bit odd when there's only less than 2 lengths between them, which is a good jump, So.
Yeah, and Paul, here we have a proper betting heat, don't we? 5-2 favourite, got plenty of each way squeaks in there,
Yeah, listen, I'm a big fan of the front two. I actually backed Presenting Percy for the Gold Cup at massive prices in the hope that it was a wide open year, and he won that 3-mile 5-furlong race so well. And I think he's definitely the one to beat. I didn't like the fact that he ran over 2-mile 4 on heavy ground beforehand. It just makes me worry. Has he lost the race there? I don't know.
Yeah.
And unlike Richie, I'm half convinced that Monolly is going to end up in the JLT, because if he runs in the JLT, it'll be about 5-4. Yeah. It's the easiest race to win. It's a great one. It's Cheltenham Festival. His win last time was 2-mile 5-furlong, and that race has fallen apart. You know what I mean? There was absolutely no standout in it, and that is, if I owned him, that's where I go. So, just looking at that, 2 negatives against those horses. I don't see what's wrong with Black Courtin. He's the only British contender, really. The only serious British contender. He's, of course, if he won the Reynolstown easily last time, had he started his chase career in November instead of in the middle of the summer on rock hard ground at Newton Abbot and Worcester and the like, he'd probably be that little bit shorter, but he surprised everybody.
Is the horse just improved out of all recognition?
Well, I don't know. It could just be a fluke, and and he's going to get found out. But he does jump well, and he does find. Every time a horse comes to him, he finds a little bit more. So
it doesn't strike me as something that Paul Nicholls goes, "Oh, this could be an RSA horse. Let's run him during the summer."
I don't think they believe that until at least December. So you know, in certain respects it's hard to see, but he's just one of those horses I like because he just keeps finding a bit more.
He's so gutsy. He's so gutsy. Patrick, who are you gonna send here against those top two, Monley and Presenting Person?
We have two. We have album, photo, and invitation only. We'll probably split them. One will go to the RSA, one will go to JLT. There wasn't much between them the last day in Leopardstown. That was a messy race. I think we probably gave Monley a very easy lead. We went quite slow. We sprinted from the third last, and that's why there was so little distance between the horses. So I don't think Dunicost is only 2 lengths off Monley, invitation only. I can't have Dunicost. He's not that class in my book. That race, I think it was set up for Monley. He got an easy lead. He jumped well. He got first run. You know, I agree with the lads. I think he's more of a JLT horse. The way he runs, he's quite free going. He won't get an easy lead in Cheltenham. Something will take him on. And I think over 3 miles, like in the Albert last year, is probably a bit far when something takes him on. Presenting Percy's run, I don't actually think that was a hard race. I think, again, they hacked around.
Yeah, they hacked around. I mean, at one stage, we're literally 5 wide.
Yeah.
They schooled around for the
They
first
schooled
lap.
around, they raced over the last 3. And, you know, coming down to the last, Presenting Percy's pricking an ear. And I think, he's going to win easy. From the back of the last, I don't think Davy Russell hits him behind the saddle. He's hitting him down the shoulder. Robbie Power takes out a stick, hits our Duke a few and wins the race. I think Presenting Percy could have won. I think he's pricking an ear. I think Davy was keeping an eye on Cheltenham. For me, he's the one to beat because he'll settle, he'll jump. He seems to keep a bit for himself, and that's what you want in these long distance races. Of our two, you know, there wasn't much between them the last day, but Album Photo might have the more room for improvement. He's probably had less racing than invitation only. And
Because he was the stronger finisher as well, wasn't he?
he was finishing stronger, so he might want the trip, you know, looking at Leopardstown.
Patrick, do you think there's going to be much between Album Photo and Dunicost at Christmas? Andrew Ring rode the winner. Remember, Album fell at the last.
Yeah.
Andrew Ring thought he was still going to win on Dunicost.
I said that to him the next day, and he said, when I watched the replay, I might have been wrong. I'd have my money, I'd have my house that Dunicost wouldn't have got near Album Photo at Christmas.
Right, fair enough. Let's move on to the Betway Queen Mother Champion Chase. This is another with a very short price favourite. Best horse in training, Paul Altior?
Yeah, I think he probably is. I mean, he needs to prove that he's a real superstar, because obviously he's only had the one run at a novice company, and he done that very easily against the Tingle Creek winner. He's got to come back and come on from that first run after a break, long while, you know. And you know, he had a wind problem. He didn't have a lot of horses that return, you know, from absences have come back with leg problems and the like. But you know, he only had a wind problem. He should be good enough. I think you know, he's got 7 lengths on Min in the Supreme Novices Hurdle. It wouldn't surprise me if Min got a little bit closer, because I think he's definitely a better chaser than he was a hurdler. But the way they talk about Altior down there, he's up there with Sprinter Sacra, even though he's probably still got a stone to find to get that high.
Patrick, is Min a bit like Footpath in that he's a significantly better chaser than a hurdler?
I think he is a better chaser. I don't see why he turned it around with Altior, to be quite honest, because I don't think Altior's got any worse.
Yeah.
And you know, Altior, he's fabulous to watch. You know, I think he would have to be below par for Min to have to go and beat him. However, we've had the better preparation in that, you know, we've had a full season.
Yeah.
Altior hasn't, although in Newbury he looked as good as ever. You know, Duvan is the one. You know, his season, it didn't go to plan. We thought he was out for the season. He recovered very quickly. When the vets re-investigated, they said, you know, you can try it. So we've stepped him up, taken it day by day. We've had no problems with him, touch wood. You know, he'll have to do 1 or 2 very important bits of work this week, and if he's still pleasing us, he'll go. If he's not, he won't. Of course, I think he's a better horse than Altior. I have to say that, but I think he's as good a horse as I've seen. You know, I was very lucky to sit on him one day in Leopardstown, and it was just, I've never sat in a Ferrari, but I imagine that's what it was like. And, you know, Holly Conti, who rides him at home, is delighted with him. He seems in great form. He's going to go there without a run, but which does make life difficult. It sets him in an unenviable task against a formidable opponent. But if any horse can do it, Duvan can. So if he gets there, you know, we're happy with him. I couldn't put anyone off him.
There's clearly very few doubts in your mind. If he just hits these markers between now and then, you seem to think that there's the old horse is there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the bit of work he did before Tingle Creek was just unbelievable stuff. And, you know, we've probably been minding him a little bit since he's come back, and that is the worry. But he's not a horse that takes an awful lot to get fit. And like I said, if any horse can do it, Duvan can.
We were all jumping up and down. We saw him entered that day. I mean, how close was he to fitness or running potentially that day?
Look, as Willie said, it was down the road. It could sometimes that race can cut up.
Yeah.
With presenting Percy and our Duke going, we thought it might turn into a bit of a slog. Now, as it turned out, it didn't. They hacked around and turned into a sprint. It probably would have been ideal. But Willie just felt we could prepare him better at home. And you know, if something silly happened, like he unseated or he fell or he got brought down, so we decided against it. And you know, we did it with Kivega. Again, Kivega didn't have Altior to beat, but we've been very happy with him since.
How's the betting on this? Obviously, has there been any support for Duvan, particularly in those couple of weeks since you know, he was entered?
Not really, to be honest. I think Altior's return was just a dream, and you know, deserves to be odds on at 4 to 6. But if Men, Duvan, Politolog show up, I think this is going to be quite a very competitive race. Actually, I think each way Politolog, I think, looks a solid each way chance. You know, I think he's better than what he showed last time. Is in there at 8 to 1. But yeah, Altior, yes, clear, another odds-on favourite. But you know, if Min or Duvan show up,
we'll have a race. We'll have a race. If they do, if Duvan shows up, Richie, that should be a
amazing.
race for the ages, wouldn't it?
Look, there's no point in saying otherwise. I can't see him coming back to on this day, first time out without having run for a year in a championship race at that level. Quivega could do it in a mare's race. This isn't the mare's race. I just don't see it happening after having had a year off. I'd echo Patrick's sentiments about him. He's as exciting a horse as you will ever see, but it's going to be extremely hard to compete in a champion chase after a year off. They go so fast. McCoy will always tell you, like, the speed and of the champion chase and the requirements jumping, it's the ultimate pure test of a horse, and doing that after a year off is not going to be easy. I was just discussing with Gavin there. I think Cyborgo went close in a stairs, or did he win a stairs after a year off? Different.
I think see you then when it's the first time out Champion Hurley, didn't
Champion Hurley, yeah, you're going back.
You're going back a long
you're
way.
going back.
There won't be many that have tried to win first time out.
No.
Either. Yeah.
And again, you're taking on Altior.
We did manage it last year with Arctic Fire off top
In a county. Yeah, it was a fair chase.
I think nowadays it maybe can be done, but you know, I'm agreeing with you. There's a doubt that he's going to be 100%, but being positive
against Altior in a championship. Yeah. If you pull that off, it'll be the greatest training performance ever over jumps. I mean, it would, to win a champion chase on the back of a full year off would take some doing. Altior is impossible to oppose, to be honest. I mean, there's the talk about bouncing after having had a layoff. I'd agree with Paul. He didn't have a serious injury. He didn't have a leg injury. They tweaked his wind. He was working up to Christmas. He was working after it. I wouldn't be concerned about it at all. He's beat the best in England in Politolog. And Min, in fairness, he has done very little wrong throughout his career. The last time he was beaten was when Altior beat him in the Supreme, I think, isn't that right? And obviously, yeah, that's right. And he got
okay race.
Yeah, good race. He got turned over at Christmas by Simply Ned in the steward's room. But a lot of horses seemed to run below par that week for some reason. It was a strange week. He still passed the post in front. He's an improving horse coming, but he's taken on Altior, and he looks a bit special.
He is a bit special, isn't he, Gav?
Yeah, no, he certainly is. He's probably underrated 170. I'd imagine after Cheltenham he'll be a 180 horse. What'll be very interesting with the 48-hour decks is on Monday, when the entries for this come out, where R. Walsh, his name is beside. I think Rich Ritchie said, possibly somebody said that he mentioned at Cheltenham preview night that if Ruby doesn't ride Duvan, why run him? Because if he can't beat Min, obviously, then he can't beat Altior.
That's a fair point, yeah.
We'll be all watching the computers on Monday to see where Ruby's riding. Altior 12 from 12 over hurdles and fences. He's beaten them all. He's beaten Min, Bouverdare, Fox Norton, Special Tiara, Politolog. He's a fantastic horse. I'd be shocked if he got beat.
Patrick, speaking of jockey choices there, Patrick, questions just come in actually from Ronan Lee asking about the bumpers. So he says, who is first choice in the bumper, you or Ruby? Ruby always says it's you, by the way.
Well, yeah. Willie calls it. I mean, I usually listen to Willie, so he'll put me on what he wants me on. But I think in the
I'd say you have a veto. You must have a veto.
I'm too clever to disagree with him, but I think it's cost me once or twice. But anyway, I In the bumper more than other races, I might have more of a say. Yeah.
And how will your reverse psychology be put into practice here to get on?
Well, look, again, there's a few important bits of work to go, but Black Bow has the best performance. What he did in Leopardstown, that was a strong run race. It had a lot of strength and depth. That's the best performance. I don't buy. Some people are saying that Derek got caught and I got first run. I don't buy that. If you watch it, Derek's squeezing before I am, and Derek rides with a lot of length of legs. So a lot of people only watch him for their arms. If you watch Derek's legs, you'll see when he's going. And my fella just takes 4 lengths out of him in 100 yards, and he's idling at the end. Holographic's a horse I love. I thought he ran an unbelievable race in the Land Rover last year as a big, raw 4-year-old. And he did nothing wrong in, to use that cliche, in Punchdown, and the second horse came out and won well, done vegan. He's a horse I'm really looking forward to seeing over fences in the future. I think he'd be a fantastic horse. Tornado Flyer just won in Fairy House, but he was too keen that day. And the second horse, one of Gordon's, come out and won very impressively since. He's the horse that'll improve most. But if you look how much Black Bow improved from his first run to his second run, you imagine what Tornado Flyer and maybe Holographic to a lesser extent are going to do. And getting carefully selected has been the surprise package. At home, we were kind of joking about he'd be a grand horse there with a red jacket and a flag and a whiskey to go hunting on, He doesn't look like your natural racehorse, and at home he wouldn't tell you he is either, but on grass he just seems to be a different animal. And he'll be a strong stayer who'll settle. I don't see the occasion getting to him. Like, I've ridden 2 or 3 horses, Sicilian Secret, Day of a Lifetime. When they got down to the start, their race is gone. Yeah. They couldn't handle the atmosphere. So that's our 4.
And who would you most likely to ride? You dodge my question.
The most long-winded, Tom will not forget what he asked.
Yeah. Well, look, as I said, they'll have to work during the week and see then. But I've thought the last few years I've ridden the horse who's had the best form instead of the horse maybe who's working the best, and it's a tricky one to decide. Yeah.
Okay, Gavin, do you have a bumper selection?
Definitely Black Bow.
Okay.
I think the danger is probably Rhinestone.
Gavin's going to get noisy here.
The last day was ran shortly after the Irish Champion Hurdle, and it ran the exact same time, actually slightly quicker than Super Sunday. They both carried 11:10. It was 2 seconds quicker than the handicap hurdle won by Off You Go. I have to give a mention to who carried 9:10. So it was a fantastic time, a great performance. Willie has won 8 of the 25 bumpers. The O'Leary family have won 2 before. Florida Pearl and missed that. I don't see why Black Bow won't make it 3 for them. And as Patrick said, when he quickened off the bend, Derek followed him the whole way. He quickened 4 lengths clear. I thought he'd more toe than Rhinestone.
You have bumper selection, Richie?
I do, yeah. I like Black Bow as well. His form and everything, and he keeps doing it. Lovely horse. And Boya Sawyer, who's come alive since he's died, is in stowaway. I wouldn't.
He's come alive since he died. New expression.
The quality of mare he was getting laterally, obviously, were very good before he passed away. Holographic wouldn't do it for me at all for a bumper. Obviously a long-term prospect. He looks lovely horse, but he doesn't look like a champion bumper winner to me. The one I'd pick out in it at a price is Know Your Score, David Pipe's horse. This horse cost nearly 400 sterling after winning a point-to-point in Ballinaboula in November. He ran at Toaster and he won really tidily. He's 33-1. He's by Flemensford, and I think he's grossly overpriced.
That's fair enough. Are there any each-way moves in this race, Nicola? Any market scores?
Did they leave you to it for Nick Gifford? Just has won his 2 starts this season at Lingfield, then again at Ascot, and there just seems to be really positive vibes around this horse in the betting. So yeah, I think he's one the punters like. But Black Bow and Holographic, we can't separate them at the minute. 5-1 joint favourites.
You a big fan of the bumpers, Paul?
It's not a race I will have a large bet in. I think the last winner I bet was Total Enjoyment years ago, and that was only because I was having a good day at the time and I thought I'd have a little smash up. But no, this new Grade 2 bumper at Leopardstown, you very rarely see get performances that big. In fact, on Racing Post ratings, I think we awarded it 142, which is, I think there's only been about 10 horses that have beaten that in the last 10 years. It's £17 higher than was given to Fiona last year. So you're looking at top quality bumper form, just to back up what Gavin said. And I've still got a sneaky feeling that Rhinestone might turn it round because he's flatbred, he'll appreciate a stronger run race and possibly better ground. I don't think there'll be much between the two of them, but I think they're both the standouts in the race.
I thought you were going to come back in and tell me he's wrong about Rhino there, Patrick. No.
No, I don't see the horse priced up, but Felix Desjardins, he's a Gigglesland horse now. He's entered. I know they don't usually run in this race, but I rode him to win in Down Royal for Gordon, and he's a real strong galloper who'll appreciate they go flat to the mat in this race, and if he's bigger than 10 to 1 or 16 to 1, which he appears to be, if he turns up, he's one I'd be keeping a good eye on.
Good stuff. Let's move on to some other bets on Wednesday. Handicaps, and Gavin, I'm going to let you mention the cross country as well for your favourite horse. But go on, do you have any selections for handicaps?
The one horse I'm really looking forward to watching, I'm not saying to back him or anything, but I cannot wait to watch Machuca in the Fred Winter, because it's 2005. I made a note earlier of when Paul Carby rode Archibald, and Davy Russell riding Machuca is just going to be a sheer joy, because you'll have to hold him up so late because he idles in front. He's 4 out of 7. He's going to be joint top weight. He may not win.
He's going to have a lot of weight now, isn't he?
Yeah, so he's going to be top weight. But as I said, he may not win, but just watch out for Davy riding him. Cause of Causes to beat Tiger Roll in the cross country, yeah. Banged this drum a few times. Probably should have won the Kim Muir in 2014, won the 4 mile in 2015, then the Kim Muir in 2016. Last year won the cross country by 9 lengths. His form every winter is poor, but when he gets spring ground, he transforms. So if Cause of Causes doesn't win, I'd be quite upset.
Oh dear, okay. Richie, anything in the handicaps of the cross country for you?
No, not in the cross country. The comment there would be to pay attention to the riders. A lot of the best lads don't ride in it, so if you have your Jamie Codds and so on, you'll be paying close attention to what they're on. In the Fred Winter, even though I'd stay away from juveniles as a rule, the filly of Paul Nichols that finished second to Radician at Kempton, Malaya, she should run well at a big price if she runs in it. I think she's 20 to 1. And the other one that caught my eye was in the Coral Cup, Gerard's Girl. She was a Grade 1 winning novice, in open company. She's been consistent ever since, operating at a fairly high level. She was 5th, I think, in the Irish Champion last year. She was 2nd to Apple's Jade recently at Navan. She was 2nd to Lobego Roy, and Lobego Roy came out again at 1 at Ascot. That was at Kempton. She's in here off 145, Gerard's Girl, and I just think if she runs in it, she's a quality mare who could run well at a decent price.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, there's a question come in for you, Gav, from Tom Appleton. Is the possibility of soft ground a concern for Cause of Causes?
Not particularly. He's won on all types of ground, and one slight positive of that would be that it wouldn't suit Tiger Roll.
It's usually quicker on the cross country.
Yeah, the cross country
they don't water it.
He's fine on any ground. He does seem to like spring ground, but he has one in heavy. But
Patrick, anything else on Wednesday for you guys?
The Coral Cup is there.
You've got 21 in that.
Yeah, it's hard to know what to run it, but I think Deal de Serval surprised me at how well he ran over 2 miles in Leopardstown, and for me, he's a horse that will appreciate a step up in trip. So if he gets in, he runs, he'd be one I'd be keen to watch.
Good stuff. Nicola, anything for you on the rest of the Wednesday?
With the Coral Cup, it's so difficult, and it's one that I think most punters tend to wait until the day itself. Cause of Causes is an absolute legend, and I think everyone will be disappointed if he doesn't win. He just comes to life at Cheltenham and is a clear, strong 9 to 4 favourite there. Active Allure, maybe in the Fred Winter, has been one that's kind of we've seen a few bets on a 10 to 1 anti-post as well.
Paul, anything for you in those handicaps?
Yeah, a few. I mean, Patrick just mentioned Deal Decibel. He's a horse I'm definitely looking forward to backing, but I'm sure it'll be in the Martin Pipe because I don't think he'll get in. I think he's 136. I think there's almost 80 horses above him, and I just, can't see that happening. There's 2 in that I like. First of all, Le Broy of Ben Paulins. Now, Ben Paulins said at this time last year that this horse was right up there with the best of them that he's had, and he's had a couple of runs this year. He was 5th first time up to Bags Groove at Kempton, and then improved on that one second, trying to give nearly £20 to Black Ivory at Aintree. Black Ivory came out and won a Attempts qualifier afterwards and gone up £12 since. I think that's a good solid piece of form. If he gets there, obviously Ben Paulins not had the best of seasons, but he has sort of come back in form over the last few weeks. And a similar story with Philip Hobbs, who's had a pretty dreadful year for a yard of his size. But I'm quite interested in his novice Springtown Lake, who was second to On the Blind Side 2 starts ago. Finished 11 lengths clear of Red River, who won an Albert Bartlett trial at Musselburgh, and would now actually give him £6 in a handicap. I think Springtown Lake will appreciate decent ground. He would be 3 out of 5 if he hadn't fallen at Wincanton. So those would be my 2 in what is an impossible race.
Pretty difficult.
And I'm convinced Active Valor wouldn't be out of place if he ran in the Triumph Hurdle, but obviously on his second start he ran badly, and now he's got a handicap mark of 136. I think Paul Nicholls has won the Fred Winter 3 times in the last 7 years. 2 of those have been fairly short prices, and I think Active Valor has to go well.
Good stuff. Well, we're pretty much at the halfway point now. We're looking into Thursday. Remind about those comments as well. It is, of course, hashtag RP Cheltenham Preview. Right, we're going to talk about starting off on Thursday. And, you know, get to Thursday, sometimes, Paul, you know, you will have done your dough by Thursday morning. What advice did you give to punters when you're sitting there going, everything I know is wrong, you know, from your previous 2 days punting?
Well, I'd say don't listen to me, because I think Thursday's been my worst day every day for the last 5 or 6 years. So yeah, it's difficult. Like, if you're 0 from 14, you're in trouble, aren't you? Just drink loads on Wednesday night, I'd say.
Get through it. Gav, have you ever had an 0 from 14 situation come Thursday morning?
No, because I'm probably back 2 in every race. But, yeah, Thursday's usually the hardest day for punters because you have the Pertemps, you have the Brown Advisory, you've got the Kim Muir, so it's...
I was hoping you're going to
like a
get
rest
some Trixie
day
in those 3,
so it can be a tricky day,
yeah. Okay, let's start with the JLT. What's going to run is probably the most difficult question to answer in this. And run us through the prices there, Nicola.
Yeah, if you look at the price, you have Footpad in there at a 2-1 favourite. Monley 5-2, Invitation Only is 3-1, Moda 7-1. Terrafort at 8-1, I think, actually looks like one of the better bets here. Made a big impression on his
Not
debut.
going, apparently.
Oh, here we go. You see, that's the
Added to the list. The list of horses not running in the JLT.
Soft, I think. Terrafort.
Someone help me here then. Who's going to run?
Patrick, help Nicola out. So it's either Alboom Foot or
like
Invitation.
I said, you
Only,
say
is
it's
it?
Invitation or Alboom, and possibly Alboom looked like he was staying on better the last day, so maybe Invitation might end up here. But Invitation Only is a horse that it didn't live up to expectations for us as a novice hurdler. He wasn't hugely far behind Monallee when we thought in Navan one day when we thought he was a long way below par. So, and like I said, I think Monallee got an easy lead the last day. So if they turn up again, I wouldn't mind chancing our fella to reverse the form at Monallee.
Richie, do you have a strong thought on the JLT?
You couldn't have a strong thought on it in a way because it's very much shaping up to what it is, which is a consolation race in terms of the 2 miles and the 3 miles. You know, it's whatever's left. Modus is the one.
I was going to say, is that not exactly bring Modus into play?
Yeah,
just
Modus
because of the consolation race?
strangely has a bit of appeal. I mean, Invitation Only and Alboom Photo, they're cracking horses. But they're very much of a kind of second tier at the moment anyway. Modus, second in a champion bumper. He ran well in the Coral Cup last year behind Super Sunday, finished 6th, I think. Wasn't beaten that far. You do just wonder always if he has the stomach for it when it comes to it. But he's 3 from 4, 3 from 3 in completed starts over fences. 7-1 is a fair price about him. You know, he'd probably be the one with a little bit of quality if you could trust him.
If you could trust him, who would you give a chance to?
Well, take all the ones out that aren't likely to run, and the horse with the most talent by far is Finian's Oscar, isn't it? But I mean, obviously, he hasn't had the sort of preparation you'd want, has he? I mean,
what are they going to run him? Are they?
Well, I think they run him in this. I can't see him running in the Stayers Hurdle, and I don't think he stayed in the Cleve Hurdle on heavy ground, and that was his first strike, 3 miles. I think he likes decent ground.
The most disappointing horse of the season, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but
is he disappointed or is he badly campaigned?
No, I don't think you could say that.
But
no,
the 2 miles at Sandown probably...
I think it was fully...
Yeah, that might not have helped, but at the same time, he hasn't showed an awful lot of stomach either.
He won a Canter the year before, didn't he? I mean, he cruised through that, so he was entitled to go 2 miles, but he made a mistake early and just got average. But he couldn't go between the fences either then.
No.
So there must have been something wrong with him then. It was a surprise he came out only a couple of weeks later to run at Ascot. And he jumped really stickly for 6 fences. But then he warmed to it. And it's no mean feat to go down a short head to Benatar, giving him £7. I thought that was a very good run. If he returns to that sort of form, he can go very, very close.
Yeah, it's a fair comment.
He's one I've backed at a fair price. I backed Benatar as well, but I gather he's had a load of problems and might not get there himself. So it'd be Finian's Oscar for me, but I think if Monallee turns up, he'll win.
Gavin, do you have a selection in the JLT? Again, it's difficult to kind of know.
Yeah, it's tricky. Finian's Oscar, as Pat says, as Paul says, it's got the most talent, but just the jumping is such an issue, isn't it? Modus has run 4 times over fences, as Richie said. First of three, fell with 4 runners, and then first of 4. So very, very, very small fields. Has been odds on the last 4 times. It's probably hard to get away from Invitation Only. He's probably the right favourite. I would fancy Monallee, as Paul said earlier on, if he does show up here, but it's easily the poorest race of the 3, the RSA and the Arc. That's a long way behind, but maybe Invitation Only.
Have there been many suggestions that Monallee could
I don't think that's. I don't think that's.
If the ground ended up soft, he may switch.
And I don't think it's going to be as soft to make them to move. I don't think, no.
Right, let's move on to the Rhino. It's an absolutely cracking race. You guys, let's start with you, Patrick, because Andesau, what a servant he is. He's still just kicking it out of the park as well, isn't he? But 2.5 miles. This, he did it so well here last year. This is his gig now, isn't it? It's been such an exciting 2-miler previously.
Yeah, I mean, to me, he's a fabulous horse to watch. He's probably the most exciting horse to watch because, he has such enthusiasm. I mean, every morning on the gallop, Virginie Basco, who rides him, every morning he comes out, and sometimes those older horses get a bit tired or a bit, the same routine. He comes out and he just wants to go. He loves the game, and he understands the game. The 2 times the Sprinter Sacre beat him, he got back up to be second. He should have been third twice, and he understands the game, a bit like Hergenfly and Kivega. And he's been such an iron horse. He's danced every dance. He's gone to England, Ireland, France, and he just keeps doing it. What he did last year was extraordinary, to run away with Ruby in the middle of the race, and some of the leaps he put in.
It reminds you of the old Andesau. Was we were told, oh no, he's going to be behaved now. But remember the first Tingle Creek, he came down. But the jumps he put in that day, I mean, it was like that last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, he had, and he's not a big horse, but he loves attacking his fences. He's what you want a steeplechaser to be, and I don't think he's gone backwards in any way. His 2 wins this year were very good. And if there's a little more cut in the ground, all the better. So I think he's been to the Cheltenham Festival 3 times. He's won an Arkle, he's won a Rhino, and he got beaten by Sprinter Sacre. And yet he's never really been forgiven for getting beaten by Sprinter Sacre. He's never had the hype that Duvan or Vautour or Faugheen had for some reason. And yet he's achieved so much. And I really hope that he can, and I think he will, double his Ryanair chase score.
Good stuff. What's the betting in this, Nicola?
Yeah, Untitled, listen, has had a great campaign. He's 2-1 favourite. After that, you've got Waiting Patiently at 7-2. Duvan at 4-1, obviously, I'm going to go there. Q Card 7-1, which I think is going to be quite interesting, actually. Do you think this was the right decision, guys?
What would you be?
Is
Waiting Patiently going to run, do you think?
Well, no, I doubt Waiting Patiently run. It'd have to be very soft ground. Even then, they're talking about they might miss it anyway. Q Card, I love Q Card, one of my favourite horses. I have to back him whenever he runs. I can't see him winning it. Last time at 12, I won a Grade 1 race at the festival was like 1973 or something. So, as much as I'd love to see it happen, it's the right race to go in though. You shouldn't be going in the Gold Cup at his age. In a race that Gold Cup's going to have a massive field as well.
He's always going to be a bad result for us. Q Card's always backed wherever he goes as well.
Has to be. I mean, it's funny. So you have horses that you love, don't you?
Yeah.
And then sometimes as a punter, you get on the wrong side of a horse and you stay on the wrong side of it all the time. And I've been like that with Undersow through, I wouldn't say throughout my life, but throughout his life. I've been trying to get him, I've been trying to get him beat without, and I should love him more than I do, but I'll try and get him beat again. Last year's Ryanair, the one thing you say about it is the horses behind it are 1 from 22 since. What I mean? It just, whether it fell apart or what. He only, I think Balco de Flo is a better horse than Sub Lieutenant, who was beaten 11 3/4 last year. And I think that, his run against Road to Respect was really good. He took to Cheltenham really, really well in the JLT last year. He was hammering along in front and then unfortunately fell 4 out, but he'd been backed at tidy odds. He's the one I'll take him on with. More of hope than confidence, and I will give him a grudging clap if he wins again. Understand?
There you go. Make sure you call him up for his grudging clap, Patrick, if you see him. Do you have a question, by the way, from Les Taylor? Can anyone make an excuse for Top Notch at Ascot? Surely he has a chance in the Rhino.
It can't have been his form because he looked really good at Ascot at the time before. Yeah. I don't know what the excuse was. But he's been very consistent before, and he's run really well at the Cheltenham Festival before. So you can certainly see him coming back. I wonder whether he's just quite top notch.
Touché. Look, Gavin really enjoyed that.
I enjoyed that. Yeah.
He didn't get to use his Sharjah joke earlier in the Supreme either. He's really disappointed. Go on, who wins the Rhino, Gav?
I'd be a huge fan of Untitled. I think he doesn't get the credit, as Patrick said, that maybe he should get. He's 18 from 24, which is some record, and the 6 defeats are totally explainable. Fell, beaten over 2 miles on good ground 3 times, didn't stay 3 mile 1 in France in the French champion hurdle. So he's just a fantastic horse. Fair enough, he only beat Sub Lieutenant last year. But as Patrick said, he more or less ran away with Ruby, which doesn't happen very often. He is 10, which is a slight negative. It's a huge pity we don't get to see Waiting Patiently, because to me he's the horse that could take him on. I think Balco de Flo, Henry de Bromhead said yesterday that good ground is what he needs, so maybe he'll get that Q card, fantastic.
He's clutching at straws, though. I mean, you're saying Balca de Flo is going to give him a race.
Yeah, no, I think Untitled will win. I think 2-1 is very fair. He drifted last year a couple of days before, and then at the very death, he went off 7-4. There was a lot of money from late on, so the same might happen again.
Richie, is Andeso somewhat underappreciated for you? Does he
Yeah, it's incredible, really, when you look at how his popularity rating, if you were to call it that, compared to Q Card, say, you know, what he's done is unbelievable. And I'd echo Patrick's point. He made it for me in the champion chase when he battled back that day to finish second in the Sprinter Circuit. We saw him in a whole new light that day. Great horse. I can't see him being beaten here. I actually think 2-1 is a huge price. Having said that, it would be great to see Waiting Patiently running it, because it would make for a great spectacle. You'd have Undersword out there on his head from the get-go and waiting patiently, if you like. And it could make a great race, but obviously it's kind of looking like it might not happen. But Undersword 2-1, I mean, if you think he's going to get bigger again, like, I mean, it's why, you know, on what basis, in terms of form, would he be?
The one thing about Undersword, all the wins to his names, well, I'm going to
He's not going to another point as well.
He doesn't have that huge figure that a lot of other horses have.
No, but he keeps doing it, though.
He's on race post ratings, I think his best is 174. On, you know, with Q Card's actually got 8 performances on race post ratings that are better than that. You know,
This fellow wins a lot, though, which is...
Oh, God, yeah, I don't know.
The point about last year's race, it's funny, one of our lads was looking at it recently. A lot of the horses he's beaten, especially on soft ground, it finishes them because he breaks them.
Yeah,
he puts them under so much pressure for so long.
I don't see him breaking horses on good ground.
It's different at Cheltenham, but it's a stat that one of the lads was looking at recently, that, you know, the horses that finish behind him, especially on soft ground, he finishes them, like. You know, there's that element about him. He grinds them into the ground.
One thing last year as well, the ground on the Thursday was officially good, which is why I think he drifted in the morning.
That was probably the drift, what the drift is about. Yeah.
So if it gets, you know, good to yielding, good to soft, he'd be even harder to beat.
Is York Hill's price non-runner no bet?
Yes, it is.
I think 8-1. If you get your money back, if he doesn't run, that's a huge price, because he's won twice over 2.5 miles at the festival. As Ruby says, having a rail on his inside is a big help. And you know, if you run the Cheltenham Hurdle, you get your money back, and if he doesn't, you get 8-1 about York Hill.
The only drawback in relation to him, and that would be Ruby'd obviously ride under so, and he gets on especially well with York Hill.
He does, but you know, I don't think it's with Paul's fault either.
But Ruby does get a good tune out of him. Put it that way.
He does, but I think he's an easier horse to ride in Cheltenham.
Yeah.
And I just think 8-1 is a huge price if it's a case that you know, Willie said it's 60-40. He didn't say he's definitely going to Cheltenham Hurdle.
Yeah.
So if it's a case he gets money back, doesn't run, 8-1 is huge.
In principle, I wouldn't disagree. As I said, I think he will leave his Leopardstown runs behind one way or another.
I mean, like, you think about York Hill, I mean, 2.5, like, it's the race for him. You know, if he didn't have Andeso, surely the thought in the yard would be, well, this race is made for him. 2.5 miles left-handed, decent pace.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, when last year in the JLT, he turned in pulling a roller, but Politolog was a top notch, and
got some ride that
what was
day.
the other one? There was 3 good horses.
That's arguably a better performance than Andeso's in the Rhino, like, as the quality of opposition.
Yeah, so you know, we just have to decide near the time. But
Rogers back.
Rogers.
No, Disco.
He won the handicap.
Disco,
Yeah.
so
It was the ride of the festival, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and like I say, those two festival wins as well. The Mares Novices Hurdle, you know, trained by Willie Mullins, begins with the letter L. What's the story with Lorena? How big is she?
Lorena is in great form. She's a fine big mare. You know, she's not at all like Limini or Key Vega. She's like Let's Dance, but taller. She's strong. You know, she's a mare that could jump fences, no problem. She's probably a little wider than Annie Power, maybe not as tall as Annie. But we think the world of her. You know, we sent her down to Tremor just because the race suited. A bit like Black Corton and Paul Nichols starting off in the summer, but like Penn Hill last year started off in the summer, went down those little tracks. But for Lorena, she went down to Tremor because it's a track we actually have a lot of look at. Penn Hill one is maiden hurdle there. The ground is a little softer, that'll suit, and you know, we think she's going to be very hard to beat. However, the Maria's Benefit looks
just very tough, doesn't she?
She looks very tough, and she has a lot of experience, and so she has to be taken very, very seriously. You know, whether we should be odds on to beat her, I don't know, but What Lorena did in Fairy House looked exceptional.
Yeah, I think they ran within about 10 minutes of each other that Saturday, didn't they? Pulled.
Yeah,
Maria's Benefit.
that's right. The handicapper rated Maria's Benefit after her penultimate run. He rated 152, and I don't think there was more than 2 horses who ran in the actual mares hurdle that were rated that high. I mean, that form was good. She actually dropped to £5 after she won at Doncaster, but even so, she's got some very, very good form. There should not be anywhere near the amount of difference in those prices. I'm not saying Lorena won't win, because by all accounts she's an absolute machine, but based on racecourse evidence, those prices are just wrong.
What are those prices? Just remind us, Nicola.
Lorena's 5 to 6, one of the bankers of the week. But I think Maria's Benefit's going to have her fans as well, is in there at 5 to 1, and as Paul said,
She has had a setback apparently, hasn't she?
Great.
Maria's
form.
Benefit?
The
They're
trainer
happy
was on
since.
TV yesterday, and he said that she only missed a week's work, which she would have got anyway after Doncaster. They got the X-ray, everything was fine, and he said she's been perfect since, so she's 100% fit, he said. So.
Good.
Absolute joy for each way Thebes as well. 5 to 1. Gav, that you're going to price
Yeah, no,
for
definitely.
Her running style could render her a little bit vulnerable, I suppose, at Cheltenham. But yeah, Lorena's form as well. She beat Alatrix, the last day, and Alatrix has pranked that form a couple of times since. So, if she's as good as Willies are talking about her, then she's not going to be beaten.
Good stuff. Well, don't forget to keep those comments coming in on hashtag RP Cheltenham Preview, and we do have free bets to give away as well, courtesy of Ladbroke. So we're going to focus on the Thursday handicaps shortly. Gavin, going to remind you about your attempts, Brown Advisory and Kimby or Trixie shortly. We're going to start with you.
Stairs.
The stairs hurdle. We're not doing the stairs hurdle. No, we haven't done the stairs hurdle.
This is nobody knows what's going to win it. That's
Right,
right.
yeah, I know. Right, Super Sunday favourite here for the stairs hurdle. Nicola, give us a rundown on this.
Yeah, Super Sunday 3 to 1 became the favourite for the race after beating Faugheen at Leopardstown in February. Sam Spinner is in there as well at 4 to 1 and showed what he was capable of at Ascot when he saw Flammy Surge, and you know what I mean, Harry. And then after that, you've got Yanworth at 5 to 1, and yeah.
Are you with Super Sunday? Do you think there's something better in here?
I'm not 100% sure about Super. The 2 times he's run at 3 miles, he just got run out of it at the death, and then you can't say that he didn't stay, but he didn't finish the strongest. And you see time and again, at Cheltenham up that final hill, they can just get run out of it. And I have a feeling he might. I backed La Bago Ra a few weeks ago. I don't think she'll end up here now. And it's funny, you go to these preview nights, you get all these sorts of rumours going around, and half of them will be absolute rubbish, But one of them that was going around last week was that a certain Tony Bloom has been trying to purchase a boxer at any cost for Penn Hill on the Thursday, and I'd almost forgotten about him. And then I went back and looked, I'd forgotten just how easily he beat Mona Lee in the Albert Butler last year, and of course he hasn't run since. I don't know whether that was the plan or not. But I mean, if he returns to that sort of form, then he's got to be a serious runner.
How's Penn Hill, Patrick?
He's in great form. That wasn't the plan to come here without. He got a bit of a setback at the start of the season, and but he's back in full training, and again, he's as fit as we can have him. Holly Conti, the same girl who rides Duvan, told me today that she thinks this is her nap at the festival, so she's very happy with him anyway. She's delighted with him, and he won so easy last year, so impressively. And Mona Lee in second, looks strong form. He handles the track, the trip. He has lots of experience, so even though he's a second season novice, he's ran I think 7 or 8 times. So you're not worried about that. He schooled over the hurdles in the Curragh the other day, and he was foot perfect. So again, it's not ideal you're going there without a prep run, but you have to play the cards the way you're dealt. So I think at 8 to 1. It looks a wide open race.
It does look a deeper race than it perhaps looked like it was going to be maybe in November, December time, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, sometimes that happens when a race looks weak. Everyone comes into it, So now you have horses come back from chasing, you have horses stepping up in trip to go to it. And, obviously Super Sunday deserves to be a favourite, but Penn Hill at 8 to 1 is not a bad bet. And I think Bacardi's is overpriced as well. I schooled him over hurdles again the same day as Penn Hill, and his chasing hasn't affected his hurdling technique. He's still very slick over them. He's working well. He just didn't take the chasing, and that can happen. Ironic to himself and Phineas Oscar both probably didn't really take the chasing. But I think that race he won in Punchestown was very good. He beat Phineas Oscar, he beat Let's Dance, he beat That Duty, and I think at 11 to 1 he's overpriced.
Okay, who would you put up, or do you think, Richie, do you think that Super Sunday here is a worthy favourite for
Yeah,
this?
I do. Yeah, I do. I mean, if Janworth hadn't gone chasing and kind of done a bit more to dent his reputation, maybe he'd be market leader at this stage, but he is where he is at the moment. Super Sunday, I thought they did the right thing by running him over 2 miles. I know that sounds like an obvious thing to say when he beat Faheen, but I think he needed to be sharpened up. I think he's a bit leery as much as anything, and I think that'll stand to him. I think Sam Spinner is probably going to be vulnerable, you know, in a championship race again, making all good ground. It's not going to be what he's had for his last couple of runs, put it that way. And I think Robbie Power can ride a race on Super Sunday and ride him to get home. I know you need to stay. He's not. If he doesn't stay thoroughly, he's not going to win in the story. But I think he does stay. I just think he needed to be sharpened up a bit, and I think he'll ride a race. And I think he's best horse in the race.
Do you think the Christmas race obviously sort of fell apart when poor Nicholas Canyon came down, but the way that didn't seem to run to suit. Like, he clearly wanted to drop in, and then he just had to make a decision.
And then he led the filly in, like, and I mean, he basically gave her a lovely tow ultimately. So I mean, as I say, I just don't think Janworth's preparation
everywhere from the last. Furlong,
but Russell gave the filly a cute ride. If you watch it, he only picks up his stick in the last furlong, and that's.
He's a maestro at that.
To me, she's beaten him much easier than it looked. I don't think Super Sunday is worth the form.
Yeah. Do you think he's a bit leery though?
That's not a plus either, though, is it?
No, I'm not saying it is. Yeah, but I just thought Russell on the day gave the mare an absolute peach, and she won much easier than it appeared.
Janworth is. I mean, if Janworth had won at Aintree and gone hurdling this season, then this market could look very different. But you're taking a little bit on trust now, what he's going to do over hurdles at this stage.
Gavin, what are your thoughts in this race?
There's 2 horses I'm definitely going to lay at Cheltenham. One is Sam Spinner. To me, he's a very good horse, but he just stays going at the one pace the whole time. Like when you see that he won in Haydock and Heavy.
Is that no harm in a Stayers hurdle, though? Is it?
Yeah, but unless it came up really soft, which it won't, I can't see him win. Definitely not. Super Sunday, as Paul said, 0 from 2 at the trip is a worry. Has a good chance. It won the Coral Cup last year of 148, but you know, I just think maybe he's got too much gears nearly for a Stayers. Janworth for me or Penn Hill. Janworth is 8 from 10 over hurdles. He went off 2-1 favourite, believe it or not, to win last year's champion hurdle.
I think Barry Garrett had chosen him as well, hadn't he, over Bouvedere, or he was leading that one.
He did. But he was quick enough to win a Christmas hurdle at Kempton 14 months ago. He's won over this trip at Aintree. He beat Super Sunday a length. But I happened to see the Bartlett earlier on today, and it was amazing how much at the second last, how wide Penn Hill was pushed. And he still came to win very easily. So he's definitely, I think, the danger to Janworth. His jumping when he ran over 2 miles it wasn't great, to be polite. But when he stepped up to 3 miles at Limerick and again in the Bartlett, his jumping was fine. So I think he's the danger along with Janworth.
Well, are you going with Penn Hill? Sorry.
Yeah, I think I'm coming slowly round to Penn Hill. I think the soft ground. I think you know what I mean. How he could end up looking a silly price, given that he went off odds on against Nichols Canyon last year, and I don't think there's a Nichols Canyon in here. You know, so you could make that argument. But again, he's another. Well, he could be, but he is another 10-year-old, and he hasn't been as good this season as he looked last season.
Yeah, Stayers hurdles can turn into those kind of lost soul societies, can't they?
Of course they can. Yeah. Of course they can. Yeah.
Right, let's move on to those Thursday handicaps that I skipped to earlier. I can't believe we're going to miss out on this. Anyway, go on, Gav. Give us your Pertemps Brendan advisor in Kim Muir Trixie.
In the Kim Muir, as I think Del Boy said to Rodney one day, it's deja vu all over again. Squaw Tour and Maldini, last year they ran off 135 and 143, which is the same this year. They went off favourite and second favourite, I think, at 5-1, 11-2. I think they'll go off tight again, which they are. They're nearly the same price already. Maldini for me is the one. It won the Pertemps 2 years ago. There was a bit of a rumour afterwards that something happened to Tack in last year's race. I'm not sure if that's true or not. But he ran a cracking race the last day behind Invitation, only over 2.5. If he gets good ground, which he's been crying out for a long time. He 2 runs behind Presenting Percy and Galway and again at Fairyhouse, which were very eye-catching. So for me, Maldini and the Kim Muir off 143 will go off, I'd say, 3-1 favourite. I think Squaw Tour doesn't jump well enough.
Richie, anything for you in those Thursday handicaps?
I'd echo his comments in relation to Maldini and the Kim Muir. I'd be a pretty big fan of his. Jockey bookings unconfirmed at this stage, but you'd imagine they'll have someone half decent lined up, which is always a plus. Sorted out in the Pertemps, first run of 3 miles the last day, caught the eye a little bit, ran well behind Kilfenora, He was placed in a Conti off 134, and he's in off 141 here. Possibly one to look at in the per temps. I think he's about 14 to 1. And Tully East, slightly obvious one maybe in the Brown and Marybelle plate. He's £10 higher than last year and thought he ran really well over an inadequate trip at Leopardstown behind Patrick's Park, so he'd be the one.
You going to come back in there, Gavin?
Just in the Brown advisory that Richie mentioned there, Patrick's Park is interesting, but there's another horse in it, David Pipe's horse, called King Socks. It won 3 hurdle races in France. 21 months ago, it finished second to Footpad in a Grade 1, only beaten a couple of lengths. So it joined David Pipe. It ran there a few weeks ago, finished third of 4 at Kempton, and it was dropped from 143 to 140, so it gets in here off 140. And for a horse that was only beaten a couple of lengths by Footpad at Grade 1 level, to me that sounds like he could be a gamble. I think he could go off favourite.
Oh, well, fair enough. Paul, your Thursday?
Yeah, Patem's quite interested in Who Dares Wins, who was third in the Coral Cup last year. He's had just a 1 run over hurdles this season. That was in a 2 mile 5 furlong qualifier for this when he finished third, I think it was, to Bags Groove at Kempton. So he's totally unexposed at 3 mile, but he won a 2 mile 2 furlong says trial on the flat last season. Improved £7 on the flat. I think he's only £3 higher than last year. I think he's been kept fresh. He's got a win to his name. In fact, one of the best runs of his life on the flat after a break of 135 days. So that interests me. In the Brown advisory, Master Whitaker won a race on Trials Day, beating Theatre Territory, who went up a few pounds in the weights for that, and finished third in the Betdack handicap chase at Kempton just a couple of weeks ago. I think that's a really, really solid piece of form. And Master Whitaker said not to like the heavy ground. His best form prior to that was on good ground. And I think a mark of 137 really, really does underestimate him. And of course, he won't get in the Close Brothers with that. He's a novice.
Patrick, do you know what you're riding the Khmer, by the way? Or will you have a ride?
No, we've no entry in it. We've no entry in it, and we've no entry in the per temps either. So we've 2 in the Brown advisory, Pleasant Company, who possibly might go for one of the nationals. And Patrick's Park, with the boys mentioned, he won well.
Really nicely at Dublin Racing Fest.
Yeah, Rachel Blackmore, I gave him a fantastic ride. You know, I know Bryony Foster is brilliant to watch, and she's getting a lot of the plaudits. But what Rachel has done without, you know, having a main yard behind her like Paul Nicholls, or without being born into racing, you know, which like myself, but like more like Lizzie Kelly and you know, like even Nina and Katie. Rachel has just come from nowhere and won a conditional championship, and she's gone on now and she's ridden winners for Gigginstown and Willie this year without a claim. So
yeah, great winners this year as well.
Yeah, you know, she's fantastic. But Patrick's Park, he went up £10, so you know he's obviously going to have to improve an awful lot. And it's
Is he going to run in this?
he'll run wherever he can get in. He's in the Grand Annual.
And then you'll be most likely, no?
Wherever he gets in. I'm not too worried about the trip. I think
Some jumper, isn't he?
he's a brilliant jumper.
Brilliant.
Rachel thought going up to 2.5, no problem. So wherever he gets in, he'll run. I ride him out at home, and I gave him a rub the other day. So I've been riding him bareback the last 2 days. So that's why I'm walking like John Wayne at the moment. But hopefully it'll be worth it. But like I said,
what do you think is most likely to get in terms of the numbers?
He should get in 135 into the Brown advisory.
Really?
Last year I think it was 133, 134 going into it. So
yeah,
he's 81 or 2 on the list, I think, but he's still, last year the 80 odds got
I was
in.
looking at the Grand Annual. He's further up on the Grand Annual list, isn't he, I think?
yeah,
That's
he'll
a
run
races.
wherever he gets in, you know. But he's going to have to improve. He's gone up £10. He's going to have to go up another £10 to be able to win in Cheltenham. So it'll be tough, but he's in good form since his win.
Good stuff. I have a couple of questions, by the way. A lot of people mentioned, you know what I mean, Harry, on Facebook. So we kind of said maybe he could look a ludicrous price, but
Yeah, it's one of those. He went off odds on last year, didn't he? And Nichols Canyon was in the race. He was obviously had top class 2 mile form, you know, a little bit like Super Sunday, but probably a better horse in my opinion. And he was odds on to beat him. I don't think there's a horse as good as Nichols Canyon in this year's race. And if he comes back to his form, and Harry Fryers seems to be very pleased with the way he's working now, then maybe he'll run well. But he's a 10-year-old. I mean,
yeah.
I'm not.
Are
really
we
one for
generally
that.
against, you know what I mean, Harry?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, down across the line?
He's probably an each way price. I mean, he'll run his race more than likely. You know, you wouldn't be against him each way.
Yeah, he's 14 to 1.
14 to 1. Patrick, another question for you. Outside of any of the Willie Mullins horses or Sam Crow, what horse would you most like to... Sorry, I think you're Fancy Stables territory here, but what would you like to get a spin on at Cheltenham?
I think might bite in the Gold Cup. I'd love going him. I just thought I saw his RSA win the other day, and
Thought that'd be good fun.
It was even more, yeah, it'd be a bit of a challenge as well, but I'm sure.
You wouldn't switch off.
Yeah, but you know, he just looked so impressive last year. What he did, well, I've never seen a horse do that.
Yeah, so it will be my point, yeah.
Done it twice.
Well, yeah.
The only thing
Three
is,
times, is it?
Well, yes, that's three. He's definitely wandered around 3 times at Cheltenham out of the 4 runs he's had there, I think.
We'll get to that shortly, but going to move on to Friday. Reminder to get those comments in as well. Hashtag RP Cheltenham Preview on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube apparently. Right, let's move on to the JCB Triumph Hurdle.
I go to the toilet for this
wheels,
one.
yeah.
Triumph Hurdle.
Triumph Hurdle. Is no one going to give us the flat rats line? No, you've got quite a few in this. Obviously, Mr. Adjudicator. He's
And actually, to be fair, this race has changed in recent years. French breds have changed this race. So instead of and Mr. Adjudicator is your flat horse coming on, whereas now you have a lot of horses from France that are proper national hunt breds that will go on. I mean, Jack Adam was actually a juvenile hurdler, even running the Triumph, but it's a different type of race nowadays. Mr. Adjudicator is the horse with the best form. I think that race at Christmas at February looked brilliant. The time was very good, I'm told.
reliably informed.
And so whatever that means, but the form looks very good. Farclas was second to Espoir d'Alan at Christmas when Espoir d'Alan was kind of on form, and that gives our fella a good lead into the race. He jumped a bit sticky early on, which I was surprised at because he jumped fantastic on his debut. But we took the hood off him and he settled fine. So that's, he seems to be a horse that's growing up a lot. When he came to us, he was very babyish. Stormy Ireland is obviously the Pandora's box. You're not really sure what's there.
I mean, so before you say that, speaking of times, Timeform lost their mind over her performance that day in Navan. They gave her a ludicrously high rating for it. Just the time is the last of that. It's stones superior to the handicap hurdlers on early in the card. Anyway, please continue.
But I hope they're right. But she's only the height of the kitchen table. She's very small now, and we actually, she doesn't do as much as all the other horses at home because she's so petite. We train her quite lightly. And she's a fabulous jumper. She's ran in Auteuil, and they always used to hold her up in Auteuil. And it was actually, the plan wasn't exactly to do what was done in Ferris, but Danny has that kind of style, and he's done that a few times in races, got a big lead. If they're jumping and travelling within themselves, he'll let them roll on. And she didn't go to Leopardstown in February. Willie just thought she wasn't done 100%. And with a little filly like her, if he ran her when she wasn't 100%, it just knocked her back too much. So he said, a bit like Duvan, train her better at home. And the way she jumps, she didn't need the experience. So she is in fantastic form at home. She dropped her rider the other day coming out of the stream. Ruby had to run up the lane afterwards. And she's in fantastic form. So I wouldn't see it as a negative at all if she's only had one run this season because she's very professional anyway. And then Saldier is the type of horse I was saying that this race now attracts. He's a chasing horse to the future. He's a beautiful horse to look at. He has some very good flat form actually, but he's a soldier hollow who's a sire we've had some good horses with, and I can't wait to see him over a fence. For me, he's the horse going forward.
Nicola, on the betting here, so was this one of the most solid favourites for a while with Apple Shakira?
Yeah, I think so. Listen, unbeaten in 4 starts, Grade 2 winner, and he looked very good when we went for a spin around Kempton the other day. Henderson was singing her praises, so she is 3-1 favourite. We were quite impressed with Radisson as well. The last time out of Kempton was cut into 4-1 for the race. And Nicky Henderson also we have a Dream in this one who's priced at 7-1, and I think he could be a big player as well.
Paul, do you like the Adonis form or Radisson, or are you with Apple Shakira?
Well, it's funny. Apple Shakira has been favourite for one of the longest times out of any of the horses at Cheltenham, and she might be the one that doesn't go off favourite on the day.
That's not unusual in the Triumph, though.
Especially if the ground turns up fast, because she's a full sister of Apple's Jade, who I think definitely wants soft ground. I think she got outspeeded when she finished second in the Triumph Hurdle, and all her form after that told us that she was miles better than the winner of the race, who really did appreciate good ground. And she's by Sadler Maker, who's got an 80% strike rate at Haydock, when the ground's really bogging.
That's a hell of a stat.
I'm over-egging that. There's only 3 horses, but I just sort of put that in. I'm definitely worried about her on the ground. With Deitch, I was worried about his jumping on his first 2 starts because I thought it was terrible, and I actually laid him win 2nd, 3rd and 4th places and watched him jump like a stag, and apparently Alan King had put him over 200 hurdles since his penultimate run. He does look very good, looks very fast, but I still prefer that Irish form of the spring, and just think in a stronger run race, Farclas getting buried rather than having the lead thrown at him when Esbar Dallin stopped will help him. I don't think he really knew what to do when he hit the front, but he did battle when Mr. Adjudicator came with him, and they went hammer and tongs in the last couple of furlongs, and I think they're both very, very decent horses, and I quite fancy Farclas better ground. He's got more stamina in his pedigree than the winner, and I think it'll suit him best.
Okay, Richie, you think the Irish form is slightly better than what we've seen in England so far?
I don't know, to be honest. It's very hard to get a handle.
You do love 4-year-olds though.
Very hard to get a handle on it. No graw for it at all. But Apple Shakira, I'd be inclined to take on. She looks as though she probably wants soft ground. Maybe that's unfair on her at this stage, but I'd echo Paul's comments about Saddler Maker. Generally, they seem to have a preference for plenty cut. The Irish form is of a certain level. We won't know until we get there how good it is. But from a visual point of view, Radician was the one that looked most impressive to me. I actually didn't see his first couple of runs over hurdles, and I was amazed. Paul was telling me earlier that his jumping was cat. First couple of times, yeah. And the last day at Kempton, he just looked really good. He travelled, he jumped, he quickened, and he's from a stable with a great record. You know, they target this race with 1 or 2 every year. I wouldn't be having a bet in it, but he'd be the one for me.
Gavin, will you be having a bet in the race, and who will it be on?
I don't think so. I think it's too hard. There's 6 out of the top 7 since they joined. Their current yards are unbeaten. Apple Shakira 4 from 4, Radician 3 from 3. We have a Dream 4 from 4, etc. So it's very tough. As the lad said, Radician's jumping. It looked like a different horse the last day compared to the first 2 runs at Kempton. Couldn't jump the last day. Jumped fine. Beat Malaya 7 lengths. Apple Shakira, the ground. Nikki says that she wants better ground, but the lads tell me on breeding with Saddler Maker that that's not the case. The one thing about the Triumph, don't forget it's 2 miles, 1 furlong on the new course. 2 flights in the last 7, 3.5 when you turn in. Stormy Ireland's probably going to make the run. I'd say it'll be a very fast run race. If somehow Apple Shakira can be with him at the last and get Radician off the bridle, she'll definitely finish up the hill the best, but I think it's probably too tricky to call. It's a good race.
How would you rate Stormy Island? It's very hard to assess her.
You were saying there with the time earlier, right? Stormy Ireland that day, it won the maiden hurdle by so far that it actually would have won, I think, the handicap hurdle. I'm not sure, possibly the bumper by the same distance.
Yeah.
So it won't be 59 lengths or something. But
you'd have to take that with a little pinch of salt, really. I mean, you can't take that literally on that sort of ground.
You can't, but it's still a good time, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good performance. She actually had been second twice in France as well. It's not her first time over hurdles, so she's had 3 spins.
Would you generally rate this Irish juvenile form slightly better than the English form this season in particular, or just because we've had that spring juvenile which looked very good?
To be honest, it's not a division I follow very closely.
What?
So, I think Mr. Adjudicator has the best form. I thought Paul Townley gave him a fabulous ride the last day. Farclas set a good standard and we beat him. So for me, that's the best of the Irish form. Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the Albert Bartlett. 3 miles, that's more your bag. Well, you'll tell us he's not running that shortly. Nicola, give us a look at the prices on the Albert.
Yeah, well, Next Destination and Santini are joint favourites at 4-1. Then you've got Duc de Genève at 5-1, Chef de Zobo 6-1. So but again, who's going where? That's the question.
Yeah, your dad suggested Duc de Genève might step up to 3 miles in one of those medium mornings. But what do you think may run here most likely?
Yeah, Fabulous Sag is the obvious one. He'll definitely turn up. He wants a real strong gallop, and the application of a tongue tie seemed to turn him inside out. And this race seems to have a strong profile for horses that have a lot of experience, which is what he has. So I'd forgive his last run. It was too bad to be true. And a fella who I'd respect a lot often said to me, horses that have one bad run, people can look too much into it from one bad run. So Duc de Genève, I think, is a fascinating horse. Whether he turns up here, you see, he's the same owner as Fabulous Saga, so that has to be taken into consideration as well. Next Destination, he was quite keen the last day in Nice, and this is a race you really need to settle. You can't be running with choke out in 3 miles around Cheltenham, particularly on the new course on the Thursday and Friday. It takes a lot more stamina. But Ballyward is there. He's a horse that would race behind the bridle. He's maybe not the most slick jumper, but again, he maybe doesn't have enough experience. So, I think Fabulous Saga, the horse is definitely going to go here. Real Steel is another one. Again, he's Jared O'Sullivan or Potensis. I rode him the last day over 2 miles, and I thought he'll be better going over a trip and Paul Townend, funnily enough, said the same thing after he won his maiden hurdle over 2 miles, which is the reason Willie has ran him over 2 miles the next twice. Like I said, reverse psychology.
Yeah, it worked
So, yeah. So it's hard to say what's going. But what I would say is it's a race you need a lot of experience, and Fabulous Saga might just be overpriced.
Paul, given your friendship with or your love for Black Op, you going to go with Santini here?
No, for the simple reason that he's only had 3 runs in his life, 1 and a 0.2 over hurdles. As Patrick said, this is a race that's all about experience. Now, it's not a race that ruins horses. It has had it has returned loads and loads of Cheltenham Festival winners. I think eight winners of Cheltenham Festival chasers, Hennessy winners, Gold Cup winners. But most of them, they're big backward chasers, and they just get found out in this race. I think in the last 10 years there have been 12 non-finishers in the Supreme and 14 in the Ballymore. There's been 62 in the Albert Bartlett. All right, it's a brutal race, so you do want something with experience, and for that reason alone, I'm going with Khaled Mad, who is a big outsider, still 25 to 1 in places. Can't actually believe that myself because, he ran in the National Hunt Chase last year, and if you go back and have a look at that race, he was still going really well heading to the third last. He was a month short of his 5th birthday. And he's come back over hurdles this year. Won his first couple, then had a breathing problem, then came back and absolutely bolted up in a Pertemps trial at Musselburgh. And he's coming here. That's where Nigel Twist and David said he's going. I spoke to Nick Luck the other night, who'd been down at Twisters, and he said name me one horse that you think is really thriving at the moment, and he turned around and said Khaled Mad. So he's a massive price for me in a race that routinely throws up shocks.
I suppose when you think about this race, you think about Death Duty last year, and obviously he's never going to run over 3 miles again. And I suppose that's an element of what you talk about, these good horses. You don't want to bottom them out at this stage of their career. Richie, anything jumping off the page for you in that?
Yeah, well, I mean, the market upsets me greatly to see Next Destination kind of heading it. I just don't. I don't want him to run in it. But the Jared Sullivan's horses are very much kind of to the fore here. You've got Chef de Zobo in there as well, which is another of his, and Real Steel was a cracking prospect earlier in the season. Things gone against him recently. I like Chef de Zobo. I'm going to contradict myself a little bit here, which wouldn't be the first time, because he's by Saddler Maker, and they do tend to like a cut. But in this race, it's a slightly different kettle of fish. 3 miles, it might not matter as much, but obviously he does appreciate a cut. And interesting stat as well, the last time a winner of this that hadn't run over 3 miles or 2 miles 7, you have to go back to 2011, I think, to Bobsworth. They've all been proven at the trip since. It's such a grueling contest, and Chef de Zobo ticks that box, and I just think he's an out-and-out there who'll be suited by the race.
Gavin, do you have anything in this?
Chef de Zobo is interesting, but only if the ground is soft. He looks, he's another Haydock merchant. He met Santini in December. Santini beat it by 4.5 lengths over 2.5. Santini then ran at the end of January. It was pulled out the week before. I think it might have been Ascot, but the reason they pulled it out was because the ground was so bad. Then they ran out of time, so they ran it in Cheltenham at the end of January. It got up to beat Black Op. If the ground is goodish, I'd fancy Santini quite strong, because Nicky loves him, thinks he's going to be a fantastic chaser. Duc de Ginevra, I can't see him staying. If you watch the end of the Lawlers race in Naas when he was third to Next Destination in the last furlong, he's drifting back a tiny bit. He wasn't staying on, say, like Crack and Smart was. Sam Crow being second to that over 2 miles. He's too many gears probably for the race. If the ground was soft, Chef de Zobo or possibly Chris's Dream belonging to Henry de Bromhead. If the ground is good, Santini.
Good stuff. We're going to look forward to the Gold Cup shortly. Step back in there, Patrick. There's a couple of questions for you, by the way. One question which you're not going to have the answer to, but a couple of people reckon, who do you think Ruby will ride in the Triumph Hurdle?
Not decided yet.
Yeah, Mr. Adjudicator probably. Best form. Undecided yet. We're going to move on to the Gold Cup shortly. Just go and share a couple of Gold Cup memories. What's your favourite Gold Cup memory, Paul?
Bower Hill Lad. I actually bunked out of school with about 10 minutes to go, so I go and listen to it on the radio. It was actually the first Gold Cup that I listened to, and I backed him as well. Like when I was about 15.
Good stuff. Do you know my school? They played the Gold Cup on the tannoy inside the school, so it was.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a good school. Patrick, your favourite Gold Cup memory, or maybe it hasn't arrived yet?
Well, I suppose
To be your granddad's horse, no?
Well, I wasn't alive for Dawn Run. I'd love to have seen it. I mean, and I've seen the video and heard the commentary. My father said to me, when you weren't there for it, when you didn't have the build-up, the 2 years beforehand and everything that went on, it's hard to really appreciate what happened on that day. But you know, if I could go back to one day, that's the day I'd like to experience.
And in your lifetime, your best Gold Cup memory, perhaps?
I was a huge Cato Star fan, and I thought the year he regained the title was a year, you know, that was a fantastic race to watch. And I'll never forget when he pulled up in the Gold Cup, the round of applause he got when he came back in. I just, that was a nice touch from the crowd.
Nicola, your favourite Gold Cup memories?
Personally, punting-wise, it would have been Don Kozak. But from a betting point of view, that was probably one of the worst ever Gold Cup results. I think it led to £60 million across the industry. But for me, personally, that was an amazing year. But I'll probably be sacked for cheering that on.
How much of the 60 million was yours?
Never enough. Richie, your favourite Gold Cup memory?
Well, I'd echo Patrick's comments about Cato Star, great horse, best horse we've seen in recent years. But personally, from a sentimental point of view, it would always be Imperial Call. I worked for Lissalane Estate at the time with Andrew Lee down in Cork, and they owned Imperial Call, obviously. So there was always a close connection there, and we were all kind of caught up in it at the time. I was 15, and there was myself and a couple other lads in the yard, Thomas O'Leary, Ray Hurley. If it wasn't for Imperial Call, I don't think any of us would be where we are now, doing what we're doing. Like, you know, he was our downfall basically. And it was 10 years. You had to go back before that to Dawn Run for an Irish Gold Cup winner. So you factor all that in, and it was a big day.
I suppose at the time as well, it was real. Like, it wasn't quite the same, you know, volume of Irish winners.
Oh God, no.
You know,
Yeah. No, I mean, they were still struggling for. There was no such thing as double figures back then. I think it had seven in the end that year, '96, wasn't it? So yeah, it was a bit, and Fergie Sutherland was such a character as well with it, and Conor hadn't ever ridden a Cheltenham winner. There was so much about
Was
it.
that his first Cheltenham winner?
Yeah, he only rode 4, 2 Gold Cups and 2 champion hurdles.
Not bad.
Yeah. So it was just a really, really special occasion, and as I say, from a personal point of view, it was the end of me basically.
Gavin, what Gold Cup was the end of you?
Plenty of them. I think that commentaries play a huge part in racing. Like this year we had Desi with The Machine is in Full Working Order, which was a classic. But back in 86 with Dawn Run, the mare's beginning to get up, and Dawn Run has won it. I was 13, I mitched off school, probably got in trouble. But to me, there'll never be as good a Gold Cup as that. It's just a fantastic day's racing, a fantastic finish from the last.
Good stuff. Well on to this year's Gold
As
Cup.
a bookmaker, does anyone remember the biggest prize festival winner? This is probably the bookmaker's best ever. Yeah. 100 to 1 in 1990, yeah.
I was just there for that one, yeah.
We were still nappies.
Go on, Nicola, you're hoping for another 100 to 1 winner here in this Gold Cup. Unlikely.
Lord
though.
Windermere was a good one as well.
Lord Windermere, yeah, absolutely. Go on, what prices might bite here?
Mike Bite is a 3 to 1 favourite. And you guys all seem to fancy Mike Bite. Well, actually, maybe not you, Paul, but do you think 3 to 1 is one of the best priced favourites of the week? I mean, I think we very much like our Duke and Sizing John actually in this one. But
Yeah, I'm in the Mike Bite camp at the moment, certainly, and I've long been in the Sizing John fan club, and I think it's between the two of them. Obviously, he's got to come back from a disappointing run, but you know, he was awesome last year, and his first run at Punchestown this year was fabulous as well when he destroyed Jack Adam, and clearly he came out too quick the last day. Imperial Commander came back from a desperate run into King George to win a Gold Cup. It can be done. I don't think it's, you know, with Jessica Harrington, I think she'll get him there in peak form again, and it was good to see Robbie Power commit to him as early as he did. But Might Bite is the coming horse. The Gold Cup invariably is about the coming force, and that's him. He obviously has his quirks, but if you look back at last year's race, I mean, to do what he did and still come home, he bossed the race throughout, and despite what he did up the hill, he still got home in front. He jumps, he travels, he's a really good horse, and if it wasn't for that quirk, and they'll ride him accordingly now, I mean, Nico de Bonville knows by now what's coming, he'll be prepared. If it wasn't for that quirk, he'd surely be evens. So, I mean, 3 to 1 has to be a good price. I mean, if Native River shouldn't be good enough, our Duke is coming the whole time, but again, he has a lot to prove. Road to Respect is an improver, but he still has an awful long way to step up. Killulta Vic has run 3 times over fences. He's fallen or nearly fallen twice. Couldn't be having him in a Gold Cup. It's Might Bite is the one to beat, but for me, it's him and Size and John are the two class horses.
Patrick, you've kind of marked your card already here. You said Mike Bide's the horse you'd most like to ride outside. But what about Cheltenham anyway? How has he been?
Yeah, well, Mike Bide as well. You'd enjoy riding him because there's a bit of a challenge there as well, isn't there? So. He didn't blow anyone away in the King George, but I think they went quite steady in that race. They all finished quite close together. Whereas in Cheltenham, when he was winning the RSA, he obviously went a huge gallop. They were so well strung out. And I think this will be a fascinating race because obviously Mike Bite needs a strong gallop. Native River won't hang around. Our Duke won't be hanging around, an Irish national winner. And then you're going to have these horses coming from behind, like Size and John, who has that bit of class and speed. And a completely forgotten horse. Again, one bad run. I mean, this horse won, 6 races last year? Won the Grade 1, John Durkin, then runs one bad race, and suddenly last year was a bad race, and he's not good enough. And I mean, for me, he's hugely overpriced. Cheltenham, he's had the injury, but he has that engine. He beat Thistle Kraken in Grade 1 novice hurdle, a punch down. And his jumping, it's a big ask with his jumping. He has very little experience. Coney.
It's not that he's a bad jumper. Sure, it's not. It's just circumstances. 3 runs coming into a race like this, it's not ideal. Sure,
exactly, it's the cards you're dealt. I think if he'd had a normal novice season and everything, he'd be fine. But Coney Reid did it. I think Don Run had 4 runs. It's not impossible, and he has the engine to win the Gold Cup, but it's going to be a big, big ask. Total Recall, for me, his form at Whisper puts him a long way behind this, but he's improving all the time. And again, a real strong gallop is going to suit him. I think Jackadam is.
Won't you get a spin on Jackadam?
It's not impossible. I got to ride him the last day, and it was, he's a great spin. It's like PlayStation jumping. You just press X, come to the fence, and it just sails over it. And although, as Ruby says, sometimes when you need him, like the second last in the World Cup last year and the last in the Punchdown World Cup, he can get it wrong. But I think he's overpriced. This race always throws up horses that placed year after year,
big
and
prices.
he handles the track and the way the race can be run. Now, I don't think he's been in his best form this year. I mean, I was a little disappointed with him in Leopardstown, to be honest. I just thought he was beaten very quickly off the home bend. But maybe we'll ride him a little differently. And I just think he's probably overpriced.
Paul, who do you think is the most likely? This is a cracking race.
Well, yeah, it's a cracking race. I think it's wide open. I mean, I'd be laying. If you would have been laying all the evens you get, Mike Bite. If he was that short. If somebody had told you that a length win from Double Shuffle would make you Gold Cup favourite at the start of the season,
when you look at the way he...
Town, wouldn't you? Double Shuffle hit about 10 fences that day as well, remember? I mean, it was, I still think Mike Bite might be the most talented, but you've got to remember, he's run 4 times at Cheltenham and he's wandered around in 3 of them. You know what I mean? And, he's almost nailed on to do that again. And if he does that again in a finish, I don't see him winning the race easy, put it that way. There'll be horses a lot closer than Whisper was last year, and there's extra distance for him to go to. So that would worry me. I think Size and John is probably the best if he comes back. But I just like this young, improving profile, and I think Road Respect at more than twice the price of Mike Bite is that he's the one that does it for me. He's won at the track last year, so we know he handles the track. He would actually have landed on his side if he didn't have horses on the inside of it. But at the first fence in the Brown Advisory last year, but other than that, he's just done really, really well. Surprised me this year. And the one who might sneak into a price, absolutely massive odds, and one that Patrick hasn't mentioned, but I just think his Batcherson has sneaked in under the radar. I think he could be very, very talented, and he ran in the Albert Bartlett a couple of years ago, and he skipped round there, travelled him really, really well. So, although he didn't get home that day, he was only a 5-year-old, I think, and he's probably a bit stronger now. But obviously it's a big ask. He's only won a couple of listed races at Tremor. But
it's a huge ask. Tremor again.
Well, though, isn't it?
Yeah, he had. I think some chap fell off him at the last that day in the Albert Bartlett.
Would it be fair to, if the owners didn't have Undersaw, would he more than likely be a Ryanair horse?
He has that. He has that option still, and he's won down in Thurles and Tremor, down the country. But as you say, he's done it fantastically well, and he's like Footpad. He's improved hugely for going fencing, and he doesn't look like your stereotypical chaser. He's quite small, quite slight, but he has the heart and scope to jump. And as you say, he's that young potential improver. So I couldn't put anyone off him. He's in great form at home.
Gav, who do you like in this?
Very, very open race. I've actually had a small each way bet and backs on at 50-1, so I don't think he's totally out of it. People keep talking about Mike Bite being an up-and-coming star. He's actually 9 years old.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
It's amazing sometimes with the ages of horses compared to their profile. He probably should be 7 from 7, except for falling at Kempton last year. One thing about the course this year compared to the RSA, the old course is closer to the Guinness tent. The new course for the Gold Cup is 50 yards further in, so he probably won't get to know about the gate. Or
That's an interesting one.
yeah, just it's further away, so
Yeah.
it might be out of his
Could
mind.
give him another 50 yards to run sideways.
Well, there'll be a railing in the way, perhaps, but Nicky de Boinville definitely went too soon in the King George. What he was doing, kicking on before the bend, seemed a bit strange.
I disagree with you there because
Okay.
like they obviously gone very slow, and he's a horse that needs a strong gallop. No.
Yeah, I suppose he just idles a lot, doesn't he? He idled, obviously, in the...
I think that's what it comes down to ultimately. They're talking about the other horses getting closer to him. I don't think he does a lot. I mean,
No.
when you look at what he does in his races, sometimes when he hits the front, he clearly is a bit of a dosser. And that's basically what it came down to.
Like when York Hill was York Hill, he was a bit of a dosser in front too, do you know? So maybe he's like that he doesn't win by very far. I'd say if they come at him again, he'd probably go again, do you know? I think that Sizen John has got a massive chance last year. The time of the race in the Gold Cup last year was actually quite quick, so it was a decent event. The one horse I cannot believe the price is Native River. Oh, he's 5 to 1. I can't believe he should be twice that. I'll definitely lay him to win the race and to be placed. He's a decent horse. He needs soft ground. If it come up really soft, like a few years ago it did one year, he'd have a chance. But on decent ground, I could see 5 or 6 of them travelling very well at the bend. I think it could be a fantastic finish.
Right, go on, one word there, or one word or one name. Could be 2 words, it might bite, but go on, one for the Gold Cup.
It'd be Roads of Respect for me.
Patrick?
Might bite.
Arjake.
Richie?
Reluctantly, I'm going to go Might Bite. I think Sizen John is the best horse in the race, but in current circumstances, might bite.
Gav?
I keep changing my mind in this race, but at the moment I'd say Sizen John.
Good stuff. Okay, we do have 1 or 2 questions coming in, by the way. A lot of questions coming in to you about Ruby, but not sure you could answer. But because he's been
these
out,
questions I'm going to be able to answer.
yeah, no, this is slightly more conceptual. Because he's been out for so long, will it be more difficult for him to pick and choose his rides? As in, like, because he literally hasn't sat in quite a few of the horses over the course of the season.
I don't think so. He's been on the ground at home a lot, and he's seen the work, and you know, he's seen how they're working. He's talking to the jockeys, and I actually think from when I was on the ground there for a while as well, I think you nearly see as much being on the ground, and you can watch all the work as opposed to just the only bit of work you're in. I don't think that'll affect him. And this happened to him before. Didn't he only come back riding the weekend before he won Champion Hurdle Hurricane Fly one year?
One year he did,
So it didn't affect him that year anyway.
Yeah, it won't affect him.
No.
And he'll have first call.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
Right. The bumper.
Except for the bumper, when the reverse psychology works its best. Right, so Friday handicaps obviously got the likes of the County, the Martin Pipe. Go on, Gav, remind us about what your numbers
The
are
County
for.
Hurdle, I fancy Hunter's Call quite strongly. It won a bumper in Ireland over 2.5 on good ground, so it definitely stays. It won a maiden hurdle in Sligo. It left John Neal and went to Ollie Murphy. First run was in the Racing Welfare Handicap Hurdle Ascot on the 23rd of December. It's a really top class race. It won by 3 lengths off 128. It's only got £9. It's off 137. So it should get in. Normally 135 gets you into the county. It's number 47 on the list at the moment, so it should be okay. The form for the race in Ascot has worked out fine. Bluette Rouge was 4th, so he was obviously 2nd in the Betfair Hurdle. 3rd was Verdana Blue. She travelled very well in the Betfair Hurdle, but the ground was too soft. But the ground wasn't soft that day in Ascot. Elgin was 6th. He won the King well since. He jumps great, he travels great, he stays easily. The county's 2-1. You really have to stay because they quicken from the bend. It's the new course, so it's 3 furlongs, etc. Jack Kennedy rode at Ascot. I just pray he rides it again.
Who, remind us the name of the horse?
Hunter's Call.
Hunter's Call.
I think it's around 10 to 1 roughly.
10 to 1, yeah.
8 to 1, 10 to 1.
Yeah.
Anything in the MC in the Martin Pipe? No?
I think that's just...
It's fine to say
I
no.
fancy 5 in that, so no.
Just the 5.
No, just the 5. Burning Ambition for the Fox Hunters. The last couple of years, the Fox Hunters to me has been a poor race. 2 years ago, the first 6 were covered by 4 lengths. Last year, the first 8 were covered by 6 lengths. Even the 12-year-old on the fringe was only beaten 2 lengths, you know, so I think the form of that is quite poor. A Wonderful Charm is the second favourite at the moment. He's rated 138. He's 10. Passion to Polar is 11. Whereas Burning Ambition is a 7-year-old. He only had his first ever run a year ago in February 2017. He's 5 from 7 since. He won 3 points. He won a Hunter's Chase in Limerick. The last day he was second to Gilgambo on heavy. Rob James loses the ride. Jamie Codd rides. I think on better ground, he's going to have to hold him up very, very late. He's another
Serious rider upgrade there as well.
Yeah, he's son of Scorpion, so I just hope he stays.
Could
but
be
I
a
think
big
he
week
will.
for him.
Rob James would be very good on the point-to-point circuit. You might have seen most in the track, but he would be a top.
Oh, he's a good jockey.
Top class jockey.
And he was the second to Gil Gamble. Wasn't a bad run.
Jamie's course experience and everything is,
Yeah.
you know.
Jamie, yeah. I'd echo that in terms of burning ambition. No strong view on the race, but he's the horse that looks like he's coming. In the Conti hurdle, horse Nicky Henderson's I thought might be worth a look at a big price. Burbank 20-1. He ran well behind Jenkins at Ascot the last day. And the other one that really stood out for me was in the Grand Annual. He's been mentioned already. Patrick's Park. I thought this might be the race that he'd get into, and this might be the race for him. But you know, obviously it's all very much up in the air. He's only a 7-year-old. 6 runs over fences. He's up 12 pounds. Back or with Willie Mullins now, having been elsewhere. When you look at what Total Recall has done, moving to Willie similarly unexposed.
What about Acapella board?
Well, the point is we know what they're capable of down there in terms of improving a horse. And this guy, you know, he showed improved form at Leopardstown, and 12 pounds mightn't stop him.
Nicola, anything for you on Friday aside from those?
And the county hurdle, actually, during the week, the money for Ivanovic Gorbachev has been pretty interesting. You know, he was one of the big festival gambles last year and he came 6th. Obviously, punters fancy him for another big run here. He's been cut into 14-1 from 20-1 in that race. Elsewhere, I suppose it's been pretty quiet. I suppose DS to BF was backed in the Martin Pipe into 10 from 14, and in the Grand Annual, Rock the World for Jesse Harrington too is one that could run a big race.
Looking to win it back to back. Patrick, anything for you? Anything else for you guys on Friday in the handicaps? And you've obviously done county in the past.
The Martin Pipe of the race has been lucky for us. It's a hard race to get into. It's a bit of the novice handicap chase. It's nearly a graded race now because the weight range is so narrow. Carter McKay is the horse that kind of, I think, will suit the race. He settles very well and he has a bit of experience. And it's a race that you need to stay very strongly in. There's usually a strong gallop, and like I said, it's on that new course, which takes a bit more stamina than the old course earlier in the week. And also Sansend, who won in Nace over 2 miles, and the form was franked by Forge Meadow. He'd have top weight, but I don't think in that race that matters as much. He's a horse that just his profile might be quite similar to some of our previous winners in the race.
Paul, anything else for you on the Friday?
I've been back in Ivanovic Gorbachev for the county. I just thought 21.
Do you think he was a
I
potential?
thought 21 was well. I just thought he was a potential shortener because he went off favourite for the Triumph and he got smashed into favouritism for the county, and he's 2 pound lower, only got beat 3 lengths last year. Probably did much of the donkey work as well behind the runaway leader last year. So I just as a matter of price, I just thought he ain't going to be anywhere near 20s on the day, and you know he surely won't. I do like Hunter's Call. I think that form was absolutely fantastic. Ollie Murphy looks like an up and coming genius trainer too, doesn't he? So I take them now. The Martin Pipe, one that Patrick didn't mention, but we did discuss earlier, was Deal Destraval. I mean, finishing second to that, Off You Go, a horse that Charles Burns managed to get handicapped off an original mark of something like 107 when he's probably 157. And that was a really good run against him. And you've got to have him in there. But D's to BF of Nicky Henderson's finished 5th in the Lanzarote, taken wide all the time by Mitch Bastian. Apparently he lost a bit of confidence halfway down the back straight as well, but he did run on strongly at the death. He wants good ground. He'll finish fast. He'll likely have James Bowen on board this time. I think he's got to go well. And in the last, Diego de Charmel is quite interesting. He won a Fred Winter. He went off 12-1 last year for the county off a mark of 149. He's got 143 over fences. One first time jumped really well. Third next time at the Finian's Oscar. And then a distant second, albeit but to St Calvados at Warwick in races he couldn't win, so he's got his mark of 143. He's a horse with loads of big handicap form. Funny enough, the trainer Paul Nichols mentioned Dolos as his horse for the Grand Annual, and that is in the same ownership. But he ran badly in a bad Fred Winter last year, so I can't see that.
All right, one more question for you, Patrick. It's just about Whiskey Sour. Where's Whiskey Sour likely to run?
Whiskey, he's in the Supreme. He's also in the county.
This is a very Willie answer.
Where does he want? Cheltenham.
They wouldn't let us enter him in the Eurovision Song Contest. The ground is the key with him. He really needs good ground. You know, he won in Galway twice, and it looks the ground is going to be against him. He's in great form, and Aubrey McMahon, who had a fairy tale winning him in Galway, has been riding him lately, and he thinks he's in great form. But ground is the worry. So
Good stuff. Okay, well, listen, thanks for our panel. We're going to have Cheltenham charity bets first.
Yes.
So Nicola's very kindly given us €100 per panellist. So we're going to take them out. So Paul, we'll start with you.
Coup Star Civila in the Ultima on the first day.
Okay, there you go. Patrick,
we play it safe. Foot pad in the Arkle.
footpad in the Arkle. Gavin,
Black bow on the bumper.
bone in the bumper.
5 to 1.
Because it's for charity, I'm going to go a bit mad and I'm going to go on the bumper zone. I'm going to go know the score. 33s.
Now the score. Okay, well, that's a big price.
There you
one,
go.
Nicola,
Yeah.
are you going to help us up with a charity bet as well?
I probably can. I'll do one as well. I may as well. I'll
Let's
go
do
with
charity.
St. Calvados.
San Calvados. Okay, well, thanks a million, Gavin Lynch, Richie Forrestal, Nicola Vigidi, Patrick Mullins, and of course, Paul Keeley. I've been Tom Malone. Thanks a million for watching our special What's the Word Cheltenham preview night, and hopefully we gave you plenty of winners as well over the course of the week. So enjoy it, be lucky, and we'll see you soon.